Yesterday, day number 2 at Lake Okeechobee. We weren't ashamed to ask for it. We knew what we wanted to see. We wanted to see somebody, anybody go big, because that's what this place is all about.
Oh, stay on there. Giant.
Oh, another big one. Get in the flow. Yeah.
Yeah, boys. Yes. Get in the boat, big cat ass. That is how you make a man.
It's the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Here we go, day number 3 on the Big O. It's an important day at an important tournament. Second stop of the year for the Bassmaster Elite Series. A big day. Hey, every day's been a big day so far on Lake Okeechobee. Each day we've been treated to a limit of fish over 30 pounds. Those bass from the Big O, the most incredible big bass lake maybe in the world. At times, certainly the original big bass lake in the United States. And we're just proud to be here. Another trip. We hadn't been here since 2012. And Davey Height and Tommy Sanders with you here. Davey, yesterday we got kind of spoiled. What's it going to take to entertain us today?
We really did. To get to watch Timmy Horton catch a 30-pound limit all day long, going to him, and seeing him catch fish after fish and big fish. And catching them heavy braid, 8-foot flipping stick. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. He put on a show for sure.
I don't care how many times I got to say it today. Moments ago, Timmy Horton.
Exactly.
That was something we went through time and time again. It was a big, huge swing. Timmy Horton went from multiple pounds down to multiple pounds up. Thing about it is, it could swing back the other way today, could it not?
Absolutely. We're starting the third quarter. I like to put it like that. It's just halftime. The big lead that he got the first 2 days, somebody else, he could swing the other way. It's not over at Lake Okeechobee. Just so many big fish, and you could have a different guy catch 30 pounds, and some guys that, like Okeechobee caught 30 pounds the first day and just caught small fish yesterday. The same thing could happen to Timmy.
Well, we'll see what Timmy's got on his mind as we prepare to take off and get going out here on Okeechobee. In fact, they're taking off as we speak right now. Some of our guys are running, but Timmy Horton had some definite thoughts about what today may hold.
Film this morning.
And just feel good, ready to go. Probably about 5 minutes from start. Got a long run down there again today, about 40 minutes. So get my thoughts together as we're riding, thinking about what's going to go down, and just stay focused. You gotta feel that 5 bites are going to come, and hopefully some of them will be good ones. So that's all you can do. Get out there and go at it. So I'm going to go have fun. That's the main thing, have fun.
You don't want to wish any bad luck on anybody, but you hope that he kind of opens the door just a little bit. And, I know that I'm around, some a 25-pound stringer, so, hopefully we can get one of those. And, Timmy will, open the door for us, and we got a chance. See, you always have a chance here in Florida, and that's the fun thing about it. That next cast could be a 7 or 8 pounder. So the thing is, stay positive. It's going to be a mental deal. I know there's going to be a lot of boats in the area, as they have been, but if we get them going, we just have to capitalize on the big bites, and hopefully that'll happen today.
Started day 3, full of anxiety, excitement. The potential of catching a really big bag today is there. We've got ideal conditions, and that's what makes Okeechobee so spectacular, is you can catch a 9-pounder or a 10-pounder on every flick. I was able to do that yesterday. It'll be fun to do it again today.
That's some of the players we'll be watching during the course of today. Let's take a look at that leaderboard after day number 2. As Davey says, we're just at halftime in this tournament right here, but we sure have seen a lot so far. Tim Horton with that outstanding 30-pound-plus bag. Ott Defoe with a 31-pound bag the day before. Dean Rojas moving in there. Cliff Prince moving into the top 5. Stephen Browning hanging in there in the top 5. And Greg Hackney, there's another name you might want to keep an eye on right there. Yeah. Always dangerous with the flipping stick. The rookie Jesse Tacarante, Randall Tharp, Fletcher Shyrock. First appearance in the top 12 in a little while here. Had a big day on Okeechobee yesterday with 20 pounds plus. That's where we're coming from down in Florida at Lake Okeechobee. That's our playing field for today. We'll get into that a little bit later. We're coming to you from the Toyota Bassmaster Studios. Man, it's been great to cover this one live. This is, sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it gets slow. We didn't have that problem yesterday, Davey. We saw all the fish catching and all the big ones we could hope for.
Oh, it was phenomenal. And Timmy Horton really put on a show. Ott Defoe, he caught the 31-pound bag the first day. And yesterday caught a lot of fish, and it was fun going to Ott, but the fish he was catching yesterday were, 2-pounders for the most part. But when you heard back to Timmy Horton, he was just catching big fish after big fish. It was truly incredible to watch him yesterday.
We just heard from him right before the start. He said, I know 5 bites will come. He didn't get much more than 5 bites yesterday. You think when your margin for error is not much when you're catching 7 or 8 keepers a day.
He really didn't, but that's the key here in Florida. You've got to catch those bigger fish, and you don't need to get 30 bites and just be 2-pounders, because at the end of the day, you've only got 10 pounds. You get those 6, 7, 8 bites like Timmy got, and some of them be 8-pounders and 6-pounders. That's when you catch a 30-pound bag.
Got our guys running out to their spots to set up and start fishing right now. We can't wait for this 6 hours to get a little deeper so we can start hopefully seeing some of what we saw yesterday in the studio as well. There they are right there. All burrowed into their tasks and ready to go. Such, Mike Sucon, Ronnie Moore, and Such, what are you looking at
Good
this
morning, guys. We're seeing if Davey's 100-pound prediction will come into fruition today.
Oh, yeah. We should have listened to him.
You guys just didn't think that they would catch me as good. And I knew it all along.
It's a constantly shifting finish line, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's right.
When it's only halftime, you got to regroup.
That's the nature of the world, isn't it? Ronnie, what's amazing you numbers-wise today?
I was impressed at how they caught him again. Another 12 bags over 20 pounds. So we'll see. We caught a 30-pound bag yesterday. Maybe there's another one in store. Maybe some people from the 30s or 40s will jump up to that top 12 and get into the final day.
All right, we're looking for that. A Rapala top 5. I never say it the same way twice. That's the way I keep you on your toes out there. But we're so happy to have them out there today. The 5 we'll be covering today. They're our top 5 finishers after 2 days of fishing, starting with Stephen Brown.
Stephen Brown, he's going to be there on Sunday. I knew that when I saw what he was on the first day of this tournament. He caught a lot of fish yesterday. There again, just didn't catch the quality fish that he needed.
All right, representing Florida, and as he has done very well at times in the past, Cliff Prince is known to go big and really at a moment's notice.
Unlike my 100-pound prediction, I did predict that Cliff Prince would be here on Sunday. I talked to him last night. He saw a lot of big fish moving his area yesterday.
All right, Dean Rojas is going big down in the state of Florida. If memory serves me well, a time or two, and he's looking to do that again. Had a huge day yesterday, 25 pounds plus, on a day in which he wound up being not too far from where Timmy Horton's fishing. And there's Ott Defo.
First day leader. Ott's just been on a roll like we talked about yesterday some. He won his first Elite Series tournament, the final event last year, and he's been catching them ever since. Obviously had a good day at Cherokee, a good week at Cherokee.
Absolutely. And Timmy Horton, Stephen Browning says maybe he'll open the door, maybe he'll stumble. If you look at Timmy Horton's history in tournaments where he's catching them, he does not have a history of doing that.
He really doesn't. And, he caught fish all day long yesterday, and big fish. The key there is the big fish.
Timmy Horton looking to hang on for another day. Again, a huge swing yesterday that he engineered. That's our playing field right there. Let's take a look. I believe we got our Humminbird lay of the lake for you. Yes, we do. Right there, 750, not acres, square miles. This is the inland sea in South Florida, the largest body of fresh water totally contained within the United States. All the others would be in the Great Lakes, anything bigger than amazing Lake Okeechobee. So different, David.
It really is. And to be such a big lake, how do guys get all on top of one another? This area in the corner they call North Shore, the Monkey Box, Harney Pond area, always produces a lot of fish, and there's a lot of anglers in there this week. But Timmy Horton's on the other side of the lake, but most of the guys in the top 10 are over here on this North Shore, Harney Pond area. Monkey Box is traditionally just a place that holds lots of fish. And you can tell by all the shallow water and the vegetation. On that map, you can see the dark blue in the center of the lake is basically no man's land. You just run across it to get to where the fish are. But if you look at the map there, you can tell the corner of the lake that has all that cover that the fish really want, and it keeps the water clean, which is very, very critical in Florida.
That water quality is something that all these guys are looking for, and water quality is something that can be very volatile, when you look at how exposed this lake is to the elements.
The only way I think the field has a chance for Timmy to open the door if the wind direction changes and comes in on him, and where he's catching his fish is exposed to a northeast wind, and they're calling for that on Sunday. So we'll just have to see.
750 square miles. You saw that other statistic, 135 miles of shoreline. That's a tiny amount of shoreline, compared to most of the places. So nobody's running up creeks. Nobody can run off and hide somewhere. You can
run, but you can't hide.
You can run, but you can't hide out on this place right here. And we are ready out on the water with Stephen Browning.
You know, this is one of those events that it's kind of like you catch a big bag and you get on that wave and just ride it out. You know, we're very fortunate to day one to catch, over 26 pounds. And, it was one of those days where, I didn't get a lot of big bites, but I had 5, big bites, those 4-pound plus fish. And I caught every one of them. And kind of capitalized on that. Yesterday it was kind of a grind. I didn't, I caught a couple of fish late yesterday. That midday where I really thought, should have been the best biting time. They just didn't do much. Was able to survive yesterday. Almost 16 pounds yesterday. It really wasn't a bad day, but the thing about Florida is that there's going to be some guys, a handful of guys that didn't really catch a whole lot the first day that had 20 yesterday. So here's one. Didn't want it. So it's like the potentials here. I think, today we're going to have to definitely run a little bit of new water and I'm kind of watching where guys are fishing and kind of seeing where they're not. So, I'm going to try to venture out and kind of get outside the box. I don't know if you can kind of see out there. There's a little bit of breeze blowing this morning, and like back in here behind me, you can kind of see the ripple on the water. And then it's slick. That slick is where that grass tops out, and where that ripple's out there on the water. That's kind of where the holes are. So I'm gonna kind of venture out a little bit and see if we can't get in some of that scattered holes where the grass isn't so thick today, and see if we can't find a little group of them. The deal is that they run around in kind of wolf packs, or they just kind of group up with size wise. So it's a deal where if you can get a 4 or 5 pound bite, if you'll settle down and fish in that area, there's a lot of times that there's not going to be just one. There'll be several.
Stephen Browning laying it out pretty good for us right there, giving us a clue as to why we see these pictures of guys fishing where they are.
It's very interesting, Tommy. Stephen's been catching yesterday. Almost every fish we saw him catch was on a vibrating jig, a chatterbait type bait. He starts out this morning, looks like he's throwing a Texas rig. I saw him throw like a Cinco type bait yesterday some, and it looks like he's starting out with that. He's picking up chatterbait now, but
here we go.
For him to start out with that, that slower, the Cinco type bait, that's really surprising. But obviously, it's calmer water today than we've seen any morning yet. Yesterday, when it slicked off like this, those guys really struggled to catch him on those vibrating baits. And so he started off a little different. There's been a shad spawn going on in certain areas, and I thought he was catching some of his fish early in the morning doing that, but evidently not. He's just focusing on the holes in the grass more this morning.
All right, we got our guys out and going right now. We're waiting for the first fish to come in. Good time to check in with Dave Mercer because he's finished the first part of his duties for today, which, he gets started. He gets an early start every day, getting all these anglers off, these 51 anglers who went out today. And Dave, you got a big day ahead of you. Thanks for everything you did yesterday to entertain us. If you went back to Gatorama, I wouldn't be sad. I would love to see you go back to make a triumphant return to Gatorama.
I'd like to move to Gatorama, to be honest, and to make that mother and son get along, I might have to move there to be the impartial party between them. It seems. I thought the scariest thing about that update was going to be the Gators. They were not near as scary as the dispute that happened during that update, but that's live television. It was a lot of fun, a great place to go. Honestly, you want to have. It really was. you see big ones come, 10, 12 footers. You're like, that's a big one. And then you see something that looks like a whole different beast. They have some giant gators there. And if we have time, I will gladly head back there, guys.
You would not disappoint me at all. Okay, what you saw on the stage yesterday, the numbers shifting, everything being reset a little bit, what's the most significant aspect of that to you?
Our anglers are absolutely positively the biggest liars on earth. That's what I learned yesterday. That's what I learned on day one. Coming into this event, we had anglers saying things like, I think the lowest I saw was maybe 66 or 68 pounds to win here. I mean, Timmy Horton is 10 pounds from that at the halfway point of this tournament. I know it's Florida. Anything can happen, but Timmy Horton is one of those guys that does, especially in this part of the country, when he gets on a bite, he really doesn't let off a lot. And, I mean, if you look at his 4 victories, 3 of them have been by over 13 pounds. Right now, he's got a giant lead in this tournament and plans to continue to build on it. But look out, because Dean Rojas made a giant charge yesterday, as we all saw. And those guys are fishing pretty close to each other today, and we got cameras on both of them. So it should be kind of neat to see what happens with those anglers here today. The biggest shocker yesterday for me, and I think we can all agree on this, I mean, watching it live, B. Height really shocked that he stumbled yesterday. I mean, you figure when he gets on this bite here, but I am predicting that he will make a comeback today, and I would not be shocked to see him in the top 12 when this all shakes out on Sunday.
Who's the lurker? Who's the dark horse who's going to pop up with 27, 28, maybe even 30 pounds today that we weren't expecting?
I mean, basically you're asking who is going to be the Jesse Tecarante of today. Yeah. And really, I mean, it's easy to, you could basically take a dartboard, in my opinion, throw a dart at all the Elite Series anglers and pick one, because that's what Florida is. And several anglers said it on stage. If you look at our photo gallery, one of the things that blew me away is you will see an angler that weighed 25 plus fishing right beside an angler that weighed in 6 pounds in this tournament. It really is amazing. And Mark Davis said it on stage yesterday. He said, we're very condensed, but he still hasn't got on to what it takes to catch that big bite. He said the big bites, in his opinion, seem quite random. They're cycling through these areas. Now, there's obviously more to it than that, but he says there is some bingo to it. You're cycling through the areas and you're kind of hoping that they call B42 and it's your chance to catch an 8-pounder.
Well, I guess today we're going to find out the wisdom.
It could be anyone.
We're going to find out the wisdom of Mark Davis's thoughts right there and see how random it is as we watch Timmy Horton, Dean Rojas, and all the rest of them go at it today. Dave, thank you very much. I know we'll be seeing you again very, very soon. Who knows what you've got in store for us today? I can't wait to be surprised.
Well, we've got lots in store for us today, and we'll be back a little bit later.
Love it, love it. Dave Mercer, thank you very much. And what do you think about that? You think it's as random as some folks think it is?
Well,
you think they're just recycling through and you're lucky enough to intersect with them?
Somewhat, but I think a lot of the problems with the guys like Stephen Browning and B-Hyde, and there's a lot of guys in that monkey box area that are just going around in circles, and they're all good fishermen and they're all capable of catching a big fish if it bites. But the biggest problem for those guys, and that I see is going to really play to Timmy's advantage, is those guys are, number one, catching the same fish, which is a problem, but just moving those boats moving around, boats running through. You see there's just a lot of traffic in that area, and those big fish don't really set up to bite. So you get a reaction bite from one of those big fish, and I think that's a random thing, where Timmy, with only himself and Dean Rojas kind of in the area yesterday, those fish can set up, and you pitch a bait in there with the right presentation and you get a bite immediately. And I just think these fish down the monkey box area where B-Hyde and Stephen Browning and a lot of other guys, I think Mark Davis in that area also, they're just on top of those fish. And that grass is so shallow that your trolling motor, your outboard, you're right on top of those fish. You're cutting up grass, you're moving grass around, and they just don't get a chance to set up.
Everything kind of gradually deteriorates in so many areas. We talked about that fantastic day we had with Timmy Horton yesterday. It really was a rarity. I mean, feel so lucky to have been able to have been on him for that entire 30-pound bag that he put together and started with this fish right here.
He's still on there.
There's a lot of emotions going on right there. I've certainly been in that situation, and unfortunately, you lose a lot of these fish that's hung up like this, but Timmy didn't.
That was a remarkable day, and so many. And the fact that he didn't lose any fish, he lost one.
Yeah.
He said it might have been a 4-pounder.
That's a great point.
Wouldn't have helped him. That's part of a winning day
That's
too.
a great point. To be fishing in this type cover, to not lose a fish yesterday like he did, it was certainly his day.
Yeah,
in more
Nate?
ways than one.
That's the first one of that limit, and that certainly got our attention. I'd say 7 or 8 pound range there for that fish. And it was pretty regular, and it lasted throughout the day.
Just incredible. I mean, he's bringing those fish through some brutal cover there, and to be able to land those fish, like I say, he put on a show catching the fish, but he also put on a show on how to land those fish.
I'd like to get more in depth on actually how he found these fish as we go through today. We talked about all the technology, how Red Height, target certain spots using this 360, sonar. But was this an old school method that he used?
I didn't get to talk to him last night. I talked to him the previous 2 days, but that's what I really want to get into. And you don't want to get into that too much with the guys on the first day or so because they want to keep all the secrets, and I certainly understand that. But there's some great fishermen, some great Florida fishermen that didn't have a very good tournament, to say the least. I mean, not even 10 pounds. And Timmy's making it look very, very easy. How he found these fish, and this is not a secret area that he's in. I mean, I fished there.
Fished it,
Chris Lane, I know, has fished there. Ish Monroe is fishing in that area. And for him to only have one competitor around him is truly incredible. They obviously weren't biting very good in practice, but he had to get a few key bites to make him go there during the tournament, and he's really capitalized.
Well, most of these guys could look at the wind, look at the conditions, and say that place has got to be in play now. How come more of them didn't show up?
Yeah, that's something I don't understand, because what has kept this place from having a tournament win, one of our tournaments being won there, is the fact that the wind always crashes at one of the 4 days. And I hope not for Timmy's sake, but the forecast on Sunday, we'll look into a little more. If it blows the direction that they're saying, and 20 miles an hour gusts like they're saying, he better catch him today, because it could be over by Sunday in that area. But he might have a backup plan.
So much fun to watch that as we get back live to Stephen Browning, Cliff Prince. Cliff Prince was
Come on.
super consistent 2 days, 21 pounds plus each day.
I talked to Cliff last night, and just super guy. Great to talk to him, and certainly it's great to talk to him. Having a good tournament, and he said he's been starting off slow, but fish moving up during the day, and he's catching some, just casting a Cinco around, but he saw a lot of fish yesterday move into his area, and as everyone knows from Palatka, Florida, he's a great sight fisherman. And he's hoping for no wind today, just like it looks like it's unfolding for him. He could have a big bag, but it might not come until this afternoon.
Stephen Browning, his production certainly tailed off yesterday, got a little more than half of what he had on day number 1, but still day number 1 for him was strong enough to keep him in our top 5. One of our Rapala 5 Live, another 2 of our Rapala 5 Live here, Timmy Horton and Dean Rojas. I think we're finally got to Dean. He's gotten set up, made the long run across the lake, and you can see how close these guys are.
Well, it's close, but not, they've got more room than any of those guys around the monkey box area on that other end. It's certainly not crowded over there today yet.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to see how things play out. And interesting, it looks like Dean's throwing either a swim jig or a vibrating jig. That looks like the flipping sticking. But Timmy, I don't think ever picked up another rod yesterday.
I didn't see him.
He had about 7 or 8 on the deck, but only used that one flipping stick.
Here in Florida. Awesome day to catch another big bag today. That's the lure of choice today. Big bite fighting frog. 9-pounder worthy right there.
Boy, I thought that thing was huge when he put it in the camera. I'm like, there's a California jig. It looked like it was about.
Oh my gosh!
a
Yeah,
foot long
it
or
looked
so.
like some
But
crazy thing from Clear Lake or something.
yeah, it did.
Well, this area, the reason why it's so good is you have a lot of different vegetation here. You've got eelgrass, and more importantly, you've got hydrilla. And with the lake fishing as muddy as it is, you need that hydrilla. It filters out. And it's one of the few places that has clear water, but it's not clear where you can actually see. It's just clear. It's a heavy stain to it. But what you have is those fields back there where they go back to spawn. You have the main lake, you have like an island and a separation, and then they go back. So we're fishing an area here that has a little bit of both, has them coming and going. So either way, they got to pass through here. And so the sparse vegetation that we have on the tules and on the hydrilla, the mixture has been the key the last 2 days. So for today, we're just going to concentrate. We're going to fish this whole field in here, all this around here, a lot of water to fish. And you know, they come in spurts. When you get a bite, it's like you can count on 2 or 3 bites after that. So it's been slow in the morning for me. I haven't caught a whole lot in the morning. 10:30, 11 o'clock, it starts to get good, real good.
You know, that's interesting that the bite's not happening in Florida. And for most people, even Timmy, he didn't get his first bite until up in the morning yesterday. But it was
That's
an
right.
8-pounder. You get started right. The first tournament at Cherokee, if you didn't catch him in those first 2 hours,
It was
done.
over. That
Yep.
that day was over very, very early in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, as we head back to our day one leader with 31 pounds plus hot defo.
Oh, this is what I love to watch.
Here we go. I mean, is it going to happen for
frog
it?
out this morning, and he caught one of his 8.6s the first day on that frog, he told me, and it's just a fun thing to fish. I actually get caught up just enjoying the fish the frog and forget 2 hours later maybe I hadn't had a bite, I need to flip or do something different. But I just love frog fishing, and obviously Ott does too. That 31-pound bag the first day, some of them came on this frog. So he's one of the few guys that I think are capitalizing on the shad spawn.
I don't mind looking at Ott, but I always get a little nervous when our cameraman shows the angler instead of the frog when they're frog fishing. I want to see that frog get in.
Hurts. Good point. That's a good thing.
That's like the third time that fish has blew up right there.
That's a good thing when you have to tape up the fingers because the teeth from those big bass have just shredded your fingers. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I remember the classic I won. I had the palm of my hand and those 2 fingers taped up. It's a great thing to have that sports injury.
Yeah, these guys look like they've been trying to fight off a Malamute with one hand sometimes when they've been really catching them.
Yeah.
He's already got 2 in the well. He's got a 4.5 pounder and a small, maybe 1 pounder.
Wow.
Well, from Hot Defo back to Timmy Horton yesterday, it was kind of like a scene from a movie yesterday. Timmy was doing great, and then all of a sudden we see a boat slide into the background, and it's Dean Rojas landing a 5-pounder. It's like somebody had scripted this thing to set up some tension.
That's what you watch live for.
That's
You
it.
never know.
That's it.
There's Dean right there. He's always in the upper right corner of the. There's a few other boats out there today, though. Hopefully, just observers, but probably fishermen on a Saturday morning.
Oh yeah, Saturdays are different. Of course, we got 50 less anglers out there, or actually 58 less anglers out there today.
Yep. And boy, some guys that you certainly thought would be fishing today aren't. I mean, just Florida can be so brutal. Just incredibly brutal.
We got some notables like Ish Monroe, 62nd, Shaw Grigsby, 76th, you know, 2 other Florida guys, Scroggins and Chris Lane, 102nd and 103rd. Scary things, like we talked earlier, we'll get into it probably a little later, some important AOI guys we see every year.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in the 90s and 100s, so uncharacteristic start to the year for some guys.
Yeah, I can't wait to ask you 2 guys or 3 guys about some of these AOI stories that are developing here. It's going to be a different looking year, at least as we approach the Bassmaster Classic, which is the sort of the restart we'll have after that.
Cliff Prince has been a guy all week. You know, y'all don't want to give me credit for saying they would take over 100 pounds to win this thing, but honestly, I did think all week you better watch out for Cliff Prince. You know, last year at St. John's, he had a little difficulty the first day and with some equipment or whatever, and you know didn't get all his weight counted, but he's a guy that's going to win. Certainly when we're in Florida, he's overdue.
Didn't mean to flip him on you there, Hammer.
There's a different bait than we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Not what we're looking for, but we'll gotta get started somewhere.
The DH, is that what you're saying? The pony. Yeah, DH. Yeah. Not a big one, but you keep every one of them there. Cliff Prince getting us off to a start of sorts right here, but yesterday's any measurement, we got bigger things yet to come.
We really do, and it's calm winds, and we're seeing some guys catch them. Yesterday it was really slow when it was calm like this, so maybe another 30-pound bag or two today. I'm really looking forward to it.
Going to get it down to 12 anglers today, third day on Lake Okeechobee Bassmaster Live.
The ARE Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee is brought to you by Berkeley, Hook, Humminbird, Mercury, Minn Kota, and by Nitro Boats. Continually proven on the tournament trail and with Skeeter owners everywhere with 14 consecutive NMMA CSI Consumer Satisfaction Awards. Our competition doesn't even come close. Right now, buy Save Fish with up to $1,500 in instant rebates through March 31st, including the newly redesigned limited edition FX series. Now is the best time to buy Save Fish. Skeeter.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
Is this being in the moment? Is this hanging out? And is this really playing with your kid? Don't stop what you're doing to capture what you're doing. Keep running, keep playing, keep dancing. Just keep doing.
GoPro, start recording.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
Now for your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year!
Facts matter. All monofilament is not the same. Berkeley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkeley has been making and perfecting trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkeley trilene, and that is a fact.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Incredible Lake Okeechobee Bassmaster Live, day 3 of our Bassmaster Elite Series events. This was Ott Depot just moments ago.
A little bit better. Not too bad.
Not real big, but not too bad either. Then he had it 8. Thank you, Lord. I kind of want to swim a Terminator jig, but at the same time, I feel like I'll probably get a better bite on this. The bigger fish I've caught have all been on a frog, doing this kind of stuff.
Mark Davis just got things rolling for himself with a 6-pounder.
Found one of those random big ones he was talking about.
That's the hole I've had. I don't know if I've caught one yet out of that hole. I bet you by now I've had 15 bites in there. I still don't think I've caught one of them.
Fish just moved to the left.
Humped up, didn't he?
The reason I was down on the floor because when I was standing up, my shadow was casting over that hole, and I didn't want my shadow on the hole. That's why I was crouching tiger right there. Then I stood up, one blew up, but my shadow was over it. So. These are not terribly small fish, but not real big ones either.
With that, he should have overtaken the lead.
4-pounders. I finally caught one out of that hole too. I'm telling you, I know I've had.
Defo, the Crouching Tiger, he may be angling for a new nickname out there. What's the other half of that movie title, Crouching Tiger?
Around
What, Hidden Dragon? Crouching Tiger looking for a hidden dragon. I'll go with that.
To me, that's what makes this little
and the
section
funny
right
thing
here
about
so
it,
good.
those islands right there
Few little
hadn't
scattered
had
clumps over here, but then this side is just nearly solid dotted pads right here.
Tommy, I've always wondered why you don't see more guys fishing frogs in Florida. We saw Cliff Prince throwing a prop bait, a DH, I think it was. But,
yeah, that's right.
And you see the Florida guys fishing a lot of those prop baits in this thick vegetation, and you throw in a hole and you can fish it about 2 feet, and then it gets grass all over all over those treble hooks. Where a frog, people fish them up north and all over the place, and they're perfect here. But there's a couple guys, Ott Defoe and one other, that I've talked to this week that are catching their biggest fish on frogs.
Unbelievable.
It just
I mean, if anything was made for Florida fishing, it's a frog, right?
Absolutely.
Brandon Lester and Adrian Avina first to get their limits, but they're only about 10 pounds each.
I know Ott's saying something. I wish I could hear it.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
That's the kind of little deals that, that these fish will relate to. I mean, it's, it doesn't look like much, but that was just a little bitty ditch that, that'd be just like a stinking major highway, or could be,
If he catches 30 pounds, he won't call it a stinking major
No,
highway.
no, he'd be
it'll
calling it a glorious
his
major
favorite highway.
Defoe, Stephen Browning, spent a lot of time with them in the first hour and a half of yesterday. They were the only ones catching them early on. Timmy Horton got to work about 9 o'clock, or what would be 10 o'clock Eastern time. No, 9 o'clock Eastern time, sorry.
Things are going just about like yesterday so far. Ott and Stephen Browning and some folks, especially Ott, catching lots of numbers, but didn't catch a big fish yesterday like he did the first day. And no need to panic. Timmy didn't catch his first fish until a little bit after this yesterday, but it was an 8-pounder. That's the key.
Boy.
You see these other guys catching 2- and 3-pounders, a lot of 2-pounders, and you think, boy, they're going to really catch them today. And they do catch numbers, but not the quality fish that Timmy's been catching. And Rojas, he's always to the top right. There he is.
biggest one I've caught.
I mean, just like yesterday, you see Ott catch 4 and you see Timmy catch 1 that weighs more than all 4.
Oh, no.
Oh. Ooh.
That was a 9. Shake it off. Oh, that was a giant.
You notice Timmy looked over to see if Rojas was looking.
I guarantee
and then
he
had his back to him just then when he looked. Like maybe he didn't see it. I promise you, he saw it.
You think?
Sees he's turned and he sees it. He's got him here, but right after he loses him, he turns his back.
Oh my gosh! He said it was a 9.
It's a monster.
It's obviously giant.
And he landed all those fish, or a lot of his fish yesterday. In that stuff, he's got this fish out in open water. Now, I'm not going to be critical here, but yesterday when those fish when they're hung up in that grass, you grab your line and you have to pull them out. I don't quite understand why he's grabbing his line here. He's got both hands just pulling on his line, doesn't have his rod in his hand, doesn't have one hand down, and he's leading the tournament. He caught 30 pounds on live yesterday.
Yeah.
I've never done that in my career. Like I say, I'm not being critical, but I would question why you hand lining that fish in open water. Yesterday, we saw him catch an 8-pounder just like that, but that fish was hung up in the reeds. Whoa, what a big fish.
Gosh. Well, he'll either shake this off or...
He's a veteran fisherman.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing he said. You got to forget it. He knows that. And he's telling himself that immediately, and I think he will. The best thing to shake it off is get another bite like that.
Yeah, that's
or anywhere close. If he catch a 3-pounder pretty quick, it'll mean so much to him mentally. If he does it, it's going to start working on him a little bit. But he's a veteran. He's won tournaments before. He'll overcome that.
Let's go all the way 100 yards or more to Dean Rojas right here, just down the way. He saw that. You were absolutely right, Davey. He's not going to miss something like that.
No. Boy, Dean picks up that vibrating jig, but he can't keep it in his hand long, can he? It's interesting to watch these two fishermen, the way they're working their bait when they flip it in by this cover. Dean is fishing his bait a lot faster, up and down. And I mentioned that in cold water, I've found that to be more effective, but in the warmer water, the slower, which is opposite of what you think. But you see what Dean's doing and what Timmy's doing with their rod tip when they pitch that bait in. Very different. And Dean looks like he's fishing the punch skirt. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. It gives it a little more bulk, which I think is good this time of year. And adds action with the skirt in the water also. But a lot of folks in Florida have started fishing that punch skirt, where years ago you didn't see many guys doing it at all.
Dean's still looking for his first fish of the day, as is Tim Horton, first keeper in the boat.
Still thinking about that fish that Tim lost. It can be disheartening for sure to lose that 9-pounder, but the good news is early in the morning and you got a 9-pound bite.
Yeah.
I think his area is going to be really good today, maybe even better than yesterday. But he's so fortunate yesterday to land every single fish. You're going to lose a few. Hopefully that's his only one he'll lose today. It was incredible to catch a 30-pound stringer like he did yesterday and never lose a bass in that cover.
Bass gets up in the 9 or 10-pound range. He's got some skills.
Absolutely.
And escaping trouble, you know, he's living testament to
Especially
that, right?
at Lake Okeechobee, where it gets fished 365 days a year. People coming in from all over the world to fish that lake. This is not his first rodeo of being hooked, I guarantee you.
Oh no. Back across the lake, let's take a look at Stephen Browning. Been a few minutes since we've visited with Browning. This was moments ago with Stephen.
Good one. Come on. Come on. Oh, sorry about that. I thought he looked better. Looked a whole lot better. He was out there 50 yards. Oh yeah, woo! Yeah. That guy. Is he a rookie? I know. I mean, he acts like this is a giant. We'll have to work on our camera guys. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Hold him up for me. What kind of cheese? Gotta love it.
I didn't get the hook set on that one.
Yeah, you ready?
Having fun out there.
Yeah.
Stephen's a good guy, always having fun.
That was kind of funny.
Did you notice we were talking about landing fish and that sort of thing?
No, that guy was a solid pound and a half. I mean, solid pound and a half. I thought he was a 3-pounder when I had him sliding up there on top of the water there. But I should have known it.
If you're ever fishing in cover like this grass, and get a fish up on top of water like that and bring him. Don't ever let him go back down. I mean, that's exactly what you want. And if you notice these guys, when they get one up like that, they really burn and get him to the boat rather than go back down and get in that grass. It seems like if they come up like that, they just freeze and you can just slide them across the top of the water all the way on in the boat. Those 9-pounders usually don't ski very well, you know, like Timmy had.
Yeah.
Those pound and a halfers are a lot better skiers.
I hope Timmy's doing a better job of not thinking about that 9-pounder than I am right now, because I'm still thinking about it. Holy cow.
It's hard to tell yourself, hey, I never lost a fish yesterday. You're going to lose one every other day. He'll win this tournament if he only loses one every other day he has so far.
Defo with the small limit, 4 fish. About a 2-pound, 2-ounce average.
And you might ask, since Timmy hasn't been catching them early in the morning, he catches them open, why doesn't he go somewhere like hot, you know, and catch a limit first?
Yeah.
Well, that would be a good idea, but then you go catch the fish that he catches from noon until weigh-in, and you throw all those back, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah. What is it? It makes you feel good for a few minutes, I guess, but that's it.
Yep, that's all.
It's like 2012 when Ish said, I'm not going to go fish for little ones. I'm just going to fish for 5 big ones.
Yep.
I'm not going to focus on the schooling fish or the topwater fish. He's just going to fish the flipping fish that he wants.
This is the first tournament at Okeechobee I can remember, though. Those guys that are fishing kind of for the smaller fish, you would think, are catching fish. You know, Ott said that he caught one of his 8-pounders the first day on a frog. Jesse has caught some big fish early in the morning on a frog, that sort of thing. So there have been a few big fish caught doing these things, and certainly Cliff Prince is thinking that he's going to catch a big one on his devil horse.
So Terry Scroggins throwing that devil horse around a good bit St. John's River last year.
Yeah.
As Ronnie pointed out, even skipping it up under docks and stuff like that. It's fun to watch.
And there again, a frog skips a whole lot easier. I wonder why more of those guys don't use frogs doing that. I'm sure they'd tell me because the frog don't catch them as good as this does. I've been using it for 45 years, boy.
Thousands of flips. Thousands and thousands.
Here. What did it do? Yes.
Another thing to think about on a lake this size, Ott is the Kings Bar area, not far from takeoff. Timmy and Dean Rojas down in the other corner. I mean, as far away as you can really get from one another on this big, huge lake. They're almost different lakes, different things going on. This northeastern corner that Ott is on, those fish are farther along, and the shad spawn is happening in that corner of the lake, where the other end of the lake, where Timmy and Dean are, there's no shad spawn in the morning, so the top water action is not there, and they may have tried that early in the mornings and just had any luck doing it. But a lot of the fish on the section of the lake that they're in are pre-spawn or are moving up on these reeds to spawn, and I think that's why you're seeing so many big fish, pre-spawn fish, that Timmy is catching versus the other end of the lake. A lot of those are males that are still up there feeding on the shad and garden fry and that sort of thing. A lot of the bigger females on that other end. Dean's hooked up.
Nice one. Good start. Number one. Number one. The lure of choice. Big bite, frog.
Give us a quick update for the fans so far today. That's one.
Number one bite, one fish. We're at 100% so far. Let's keep it rolling. It's a good start. It's been slow for me in the mornings. I haven't been really catching a whole lot in the morning. Later in the day, it's when it really starts to get good. When that sun heats up this water, when females lose their mind. They bite.
Take another look at this one. Thousands of flips. He says pretty simple formula.
Yeah, it is. This is exactly what Timmy didn't need to happen after losing a 9-pounder, seeing Dean catch one, and he didn't have one in the boat yet. But like I mentioned, I don't think it's going to rattle Timmy a whole lot.
I think Dean gave him a little gig right there. He said, yeah, one for one, 100%.
Saw him lose that one or
yeah.
what?
Yeah, I think he did.
And later on, when the sun comes up, those females go crazy.
He said. He's sounds like the ladies' man.
But he definitely threw a little gig in there.
Absolutely.
It had a group of fish in it where the water was kind of a little off-colored. You know, when it's cleaned up a little bit, that may be one of those deals where you can, you know, catch a giant bag. They said they've had a lot of, you know, winds over the course of the winter and last fall, and it's really got the lake, you know, off-colored in some really key areas. But that's one thing about a Florida bass. It does not, I mean, it just hates nasty water, you know, off-colored water. It needs to, the cleanest water you could find is kind of where they like to hang out. It's one of those deals where, you know, when the water's like, it's almost clean, but it's not quite clean. You know, you get a couple of days like this where the wind doesn't blow and gets a chance, golly, gets a chance to kind of settle out. That you might be fortunate enough to stumble upon a good mess of them. Not supposed to hit when I engage the reel. You're supposed to let me reel it a few times. Jackwagon.
Now, jackwagon.
Yeah, jackwagon is a very common word used around my neck of the woods. Commonly referring to a bass that does not allow you to engage your reel before he decides he wants to bite.
The definition of a jackwagon.
All right.
It's a jackwagon.
Well, all of our Rapple of 5 Live have a fish in the boat except for Timmy Horton right now, but Timmy Horton nonetheless has the most memorable moment of the day so far. By far, it was this miss right here. A lot of people taking note of that. I think a lot of viewers out there agree with us on that point.
Geez, it's yesterday that his first bite was 8-pounder. I think the day before, his first bite was 8-pounder. He landed both of them. This morning, first bite is an 8 or 9-pounder. And in open water, more so than one yesterday, I was amazed that he landed. And this one just gets off right beside the boat.
Somebody agreed with you about grabbing that line. It's been taboo, but you do see a lot more of it lately, don't you?
You do, with braided line especially, because you really do sink that hook in good with braided line. But I think a lot of people accept that because typically, just like yesterday, that you grab your line, that fish was all down in that stuff, and the first thing you want to do is grab your line and see if it's a bass and not an alligator or a mudfish or something like that. So that's fine, but you know, and I hope Timmy don't get mad at me, but I would question in open water, grabbing a line, no stretching that braid, why you do it? You know,
that first one yesterday, he pulled his boat closer.
Sure, and I totally understand
yanking on the line.
But this is a totally different scenario. The good thing about it, and I hope he's thinking about all this, and he probably is. Like I said, he's a veteran. He's been there before and done that. Had he lost that 8-pounder yesterday, he still would be leading this tournament.
Oh, that's right.
Because he was culling 5s.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the end of the world. It's not like that's the only bites he's been getting each day. He's been getting lots of big bites. It's easy to sit here in Little Rock, Arkansas and say that.
Yeah, that's right. But when you have the knowledge, as that sun gets higher, the meal's going to go crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Keep that in the back of your mind.
Get your mind on it.
Davey, I'm wondering if, yesterday we saw Timmy catch that 8-pounder and we didn't see, Dean really in sight until the afternoon time. Losing that fish with the competitor nearby, knowing that he's closer and knowing what Dean caught. He's a veteran, but that's got to play on your mind. You're like, man, no, it's one thing if you lose when no one's around.
You're exactly right, Ronnie. And just saying, I don't remember seeing Timmy take his hat off and rub his brow at all yesterday. No. You remember we talked about when guys were talking about the bugs and the calm winds, and Timmy was just loving it. He said, it's beautiful out here today. And never saw him, pull his hat off and rub his eyebrow like he did.
Yeah, he was seeing baseballs the size of beach balls yesterday, that's for sure.
Absolutely. He's fine, though. He's fine. Now, if he loses another 9-pounder?
Like you said, a 3-pounder, calm him down real quick.
Real quick.
Got a break coming up pretty soon. Before we go to break, I mean, we talked about how we need to keep our eye on the weather today and especially tomorrow, because things might change tomorrow. Our TH Marine Weather Watch is going to give us this info right here. Take a look at it. A little bit warmer today than it has been. The winds west-southwest, 15.
Yeah, west-southwest won't really affect Timmy a lot. The 15 is going to affect everybody somewhat, but that direction is not much of a concern today. Tomorrow, pay close attention. They've changed that since yesterday.
Yes,
we looked at this and they were saying 9 to 10 mile an hour. 21 mile an hour out of northeast will definitely be a factor tomorrow if it actually does that. And unfortunately, where Dean and Timmy are will be places that will dirty up and those fish will lock down, or they always have in the past when I've been there. Dean and Timmy are certainly aware of that. I'm sure they've looked at the forecast, and you want to put those 9-pounders in the boat today.
Absolutely, yeah. You might want to stock up on as many of those as you can on this day, because you really don't know what's going to happen on the final day. We'll have 12 tomorrow, the final day out there, and who knows how close you can be to the 10, within 10 pounds of the lead, still win this thing? Possibly so.
Absolutely. With the northeast wind, like I said, where Timmy and Dean are, it's gonna really hurt that area. Unlike where Stephen Brown and are, at the foe, it's going to actually help them. We talked a little bit the last few days about current. If people weren't with us then, Lake Okeechobee, even though it's a big round bowl, has current that the wind will push water from one end to the other. If it blows out of northeast at 21 miles an hour, it'll create some current flowing out of that monkey box area, and it'll help those fish bite.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Lake Okeechobee with a little less than an hour of fishing under their belts. These 51 anglers out there today.
Man, it's slow today.
Yep.
Mom, I caught a fish.
Good job, sweetie.
Hey, what kind of lure is that?
It's a Livingston. They have electronic bait fish sounds that activate as soon as they hit the water. Easiest way to catch a fish.
Hey, thanks.
Fishing fans, make plans to be at the 2017 Geico Bassmaster Classic, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, March 24th through the 26th in Houston, Texas. See 52 of the world's best anglers weigh in their catch from Lake Conroe at Minute Maid Park, home of the Houston Astros. A weigh-in show like never before, and one you've got to see in person. Check out the biggest outdoors expo in B.A.S.S. history, featuring the latest in fishing gear, giveaways, and more. Fun for the whole family, and all events are free. Join us in Houston for the Geico Bassmaster Classic and be a part of the most exciting 3 days in fishing, period.
Hey, thanks, Dame. Out of office? Oh, man.
Hi, this is Skeet.
Skeet, out of office?
Dude, don't be mad because I thought of it.
What?
I gotta go. I got someone on the line. Go to teamgtfishing.com to check out my real job.
We're supposed to be working.
I am working.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Bassmaster Classic 4 weeks from this weekend. That's what we'll be occupied with, the World Championship of Bass Fishing, the single most important event in the sport. You fish all year to make it into the Bassmaster Classic, and winning one, we've said it 100,000 times, it's a life changer, but you never want to take your mind off that because, Davey, you can testify to that.
Oh, it is a career changer for sure, something that we all dream of as bass fishermen, to be able to hold that one trophy over your head, the World Championship, nothing like it.
All right, we got a full field qualified and ready to go. That's what happened on the final day last year. Edwin Evers finally getting the conditions right to visit this little spot in the Elk River and load the boat with 30 pounds of bass. That is a finish like never before. We'll never forget that. Lake Conroe promises a lot of fireworks as well. Of course, we'll have the fantastic at the George R. Brown Convention Center, the Geico Bassmaster Classic Expo, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Always a don't miss, once a year occasion for every fan of bass fishing. See everything that's new in the sport. See a lot of your heroes. A lot of unexpected stuff you see there as well in all sorts of different categories. It's just a great sort of gathering of the bass fishing family there, and it will happen in Houston, Texas, 4th largest city in America, 4th largest media market. We're going to turn out to the Minute Maid Field there in downtown Houston and watch a great weigh-in 3 days in a row. And at the end, we'll have our world champion. This was Steve Browning just moments ago.
Quit swimming. That's a skinny one. Quit. Oh, hold him up for him. You like that, didn't you? Huh? You like that, didn't you? Look at him, he's hollering at me. Hold him up for me. I'm gonna hold him one up for him, all right? You guys need to invest in some of these little coil clips too. I'm not big on punch, you know, I mean, you got a hook that you hook them with. Dadgum, there's no need to stinking run another gouge in them. Respect those fish, man. Treat them with a little respect. Maybe you too will be here on the Bassmasters. I got to come out of my shirt.
Notice the way he was working that chatterbait this morning, giving us a little extra twitch, a little extra jerk.
And catching them about the same rate he was catching them yesterday morning. Yeah, just never did run into the big giants yesterday. Today could be a different story. Things change around. Tim Horton now again. We saw him miss that 9-pounder the first hour of fishing, trying to, how do you shake that? I mean, if I missed a 9-pounder, I'd still be thinking about it Sunday a year from now.
Well, hopefully he won't. Hopefully he won't. But some fish you remember, ones that cost you. But if you're just tuning in and haven't been watching the last few days, no need to panic for Timmy, because he's been catching a lot of fish later on in the day. Most of his fish. Yes. But that first bite, the previous 2 mornings have been 8-pounders, and his first bite this morning was a 9-pounder. First fish we've seen him lose. He's got to keep thinking that you're going to lose a few of these fish. Fishing, in this thick cover is going to happen. But the easiest thing to get that 9-pounder off his mind is a 6-pounder or another 9-pounder. Just one big bite and he'll shake that off. But if you don't get that big bite, you'll be like me. I still remember losing a fish in 1996.
Yeah, that's right.
One particular fish that cost me the Bassmaster Classic.
Oh my!
It's only a 1.5-pound fish. It wasn't enough. There we go.
Not much, but we'll take it.
Didn't see that from him yesterday.
No.
That size.
No, did not. Not a one.
Oh, yeah.
It's a keeper, though, and that helps.
And he's back in the lead.
He knows that he's not going to weigh that fish in at the end of the day, but it helps him mentally to put that fish in the live well. And like Suit said, back in the lead.
Back in the lead. Hey, there you go.
See if he talks about the 9-pounder here.
We'll have a Yamaha taste of bait before long. I'd love for you, Davey, to run through that weight scheme he's got going out there and the baits he's using and everything. He was very, very generous with his info yesterday.
One thing I've noticed, being able to watch him for 2 days, talking about the weight size, Tommy, it's a great point. It seems like in the mornings, Timmy is flipping into thicker stuff.
Okay.
And as the day progresses and those females move up to that isolated stuff is where they're going to be spawning. They spend the night basically with the cover over their heads. And on the good days, the pretty days, the good weather, the calm winds, those fish moving out to spawn, those pre-spawn fish, and they get on that scattered sparse stuff. And he's really dialed in on that. I've just picked that up this morning because the second morning I've been able to watch him, and it's very obvious that he's targeting that thicker stuff. The first bite he had yesterday morning was in that really thick stuff. And then this morning, that fish he just caught right in really thick stuff, he made the next pitch that we saw, which was right after this footage, was straight in the middle of that stuff, using the heavier sinker probably, and then later on in the afternoon, that sparse stuff catching those big fish.
That's
that
right.
are probably setting up the spawn.
One of his midday fish yesterday, you can remember he said, wow, she just stood there and grabbed it. So she was set up, ready to go in that little isolated piece of it.
You bet, you bet.
Piece of
Now, of course, he'll pitch to this isolated stuff, but he's moving pretty quickly to that next thick clump.
Okay.
Have we seen Dean a single time to Timmy's left? No. And they're moving around. We're not photoshopping this. I mean, Timmy,
this is
Dean is over his right shoulder.
It's like they rehearsed it.
You want me to get the sinkers out, you think, or do
Yeah,
that
get
later?
them out. Yeah, let's get the sinkers out. We'll just do a Yamaha taste of bait there. I think they got some good pictures of Timmy's bait. And Timmy did a good job of showing it to us and talking about it all yesterday. The Yamaha taste of bait today. We're going to feature our tournament leader. Having lost the lead momentarily, he's back on top. There's the lineup right there. The Bass Pro Shops tungsten weight. Tungsten, you talked about how that was key, Davey. I know you got some weights you'll show us live here in just a second. That Trocar, the Marzona hook, I believe it was, and they flown across some black and blue swirl. Meaty at the top, and it really flares out big time, he said, when it starts descending into the water column there, and he likes the way that excites the big bass. And you got those weights for us right now.
I got them right here.
About yesterday.
I'll set them up right here in front of us.
Yeah.
For us to look at. That's got 1.5 ounces tungsten, and then this is a 1/2 ounce. And like I talked about yesterday before the tungsten, we were using just lead. And it was twice that size. So to go to 1.5 ounces, you just had so much bulk in front of the bait. You know, the bait that Timmy's using, it's just straight plastic, doesn't have a skirt in front of it or anything, you know, the punt skirt like Dean is using. But it means so much. This looks like a big sinker, but it's 1.5 ounces. Lead would be twice that size. It really helps you get down on that cover because it's not so bulky. I think Timmy is using the 1/2 ounce up to about 1 ounce. He's not fishing that really thick stuff. You don't want to use this bigger sinker if you don't have to.
Okay.
The one thing you have to do is get the bait to penetrate through that cover. So if you have to use 1.5 ounces all the way up to 2 ounce, some guys use, I've used before too. But if you can get away with this, being able to hook those fish and land those fish, you're going to be a lot better off, because when you move that sinker in that fish's mouth, just visualize, like Timmy said, that fish holding the bait yesterday. To set the hook, you have to move that bait inside the fish's mouth. If it doesn't move, it's just open its mouth, it comes out. So that's why you set the hook so hard. But to move this in a fish's mouth versus this requires a lot more pressure, but it also pops the fish's mouth open when that big piece of tungsten moves. But we're much more effective with the tungsten than the lead because you've got that smaller piece. 1.5 ounces of lead in a fish's mouth, when you move that lead, it's going to really pop that fish's mouth open and give that hook a lot more room to come out of the fish's mouth. So tungsten's a big deal. The smaller size you can use it. When Ish and Chris Lane, slugged it out here in 2012, they were both using 1.5 ounce to 2 ounce sinkers. They were fishing in thicker cover. I think Timmy's using probably closer to this smaller size.
And you assume Dean's kind of using basically the same
Look like
weight,
about an ounce or so.
the 1-2 combo with the weights and stuff like that, and a similar big profile.
You bet.
bait right
You
there
bet.
with a different sort of configuration.
Yeah, we talked about the smaller profile plastics in the colder weather versus the bigger profile, like Timmy talked about yesterday with his Bass Pro Shop plastic that he's using. The legs, it really spreads out and thumps, makes a lot of vibration. When we got these beautiful days like we've had the last few days and catching these 30-pound bags, these fish are aggressive in the area that Timmy's in. Not all over the lake, obviously, because not everyone caught 30-pound stringers. But when those fish are aggressive, drop down to a half ounce to maybe a 3/4 ounce tungsten sinker on a piece of plastic that's making a lot of noise, a lot of vibration, and catch big fish like he's been doing. And there's Dean over his right shoulder. Imagine that. And they're moving around. They're not, I mean, Timmy's moving steadily around, but
all right, you ready? Yeah, I don't know what happened. That one came out of it better than any I've hooked. I just got to the boat and come unbuttoned. And that's the biggest fish I've hooked all week. Just gotta stay at it, keep plugging away. Keep her head down. You know, yesterday morning was really slow and then it got better as the day went on, so hopefully that'll be the case today. Whole lot of boats in here today. Wasn't yesterday. But you know what? We're just gonna keep our head down and go at it.
I agree with what he's saying. Head down, eyes up, keep fishing. We love hearing him talk about what's going on in his mind right now. I've been there, done that. We love it at live.
Yeah.
But the hardest thing to do to wipe something out of your mind is tell the cameraman 4 times and tell us back here in the studio. But we want to know what
Jimmy,
he's
they
thinking.
want you to talk about losing that fish.
Forget about that fish, but tell us about it one more time.
Way to go, Timmy. Now forget it.
That's right. It was interesting yesterday when I talked about the shiner poles. Tommy, you certainly know what the shiner poles are, but it was a few people that didn't.
Oh, really? I really didn't know that. That's some Okeechobee lore. I was not clued into.
It's a Florida deal.
Got to be honest.
Might as well talk about that a little bit more this morning for the viewers that weren't watching us yesterday. We talked about that. When you're catching bass at Lake Okeechobee, the St. Johns River, a lot of places in Florida, you might notice those white PVC pipes around you. And those are shiner poles. There are a lot of folks fish with live shiners down in Florida. A lot of guides take people out and catch lots and lots of fish on those wild shiners. The wild shiners are better than, for whatever reason, better than the farm-grown, farm-raised shiners. I think because they cost more, you just think that they're a lot better. I don't know if it really matters a whole lot to the bass, whether they eat a farm-raised shiner or a wild one, but the wild ones are certainly considered better. And guides go out and they set these poles to mark an area of clean bottom, which is typically on the inside or outside edge of some grass. But the clean bottom is what the bass look for also. So when you're around these poles, you're usually around some good bass fishing areas. But if they throw their nets over grass, they're going to get nothing but grass and not the shiner. So it'll be a clean area, hard bottom, so that's always a good thing to look for. But they bait those areas with fish meal and come back and throw a 10 or 12 foot cast net and catch those shiners. So that's why the shiner pole is there, just to mark an area that they bait.
So you're saying it's not a guide to shallow water when you're running? Because I see a lot of people run near them because it looks like a channel marker.
It's not a channel marker, I promise you. It's not a channel marker.
You could run into some trouble that way.
At least there's no grass there, right?
Yeah.
And those ones that look like that on Toledo Bend are not shiner poles.
Exactly. Yeah, white PVC marker in South Florida is different than a white PVC in Toledo Bend for sure, Tommy. Great point. Ott's been using a floating frog, a terminated floating frog some, and then he's been swimming this white jig or horny toad, whatever it is. He's fishing a lot faster. And that's all about the shad spawn. Those shad are up active in the mornings, and that white bait that he's fishing along fast on top of the water.
One thing I noticed to hit on that shad spawn real quick, yesterday's fish catch numbers, there was 50 more fish caught yesterday than day one. You know, you figure there's a drop with as much pressure and you know, them hitting them almost 1,000 fish. They caught almost 1,000 again yesterday, you know, total keepers. But the morning period, the first 3 hours of the day, there was over half the fish caught for the entire day in those first 3 hours. So that seemed like a lot of shad spawn guys. But then there was a peak in the afternoon where a lot of those big fish showed up that we talked about. So that shad spawn seems to be, for at least the majority of the field, maybe not the 4 guys we've seen on camera, but it seems like a lot of guys keyed in on that yesterday and got quick, you know, small but quick limits.
Ronnie, it's a good point you mentioned about you would think the weights might drop, all the pressure, that even though we're on Lake Okeechobee, a lot of guys fishing on top of one another. When I started my Bassmaster career, you're probably not old enough to remember this, I know, but
yeah,
you could always calculate day one's weight times 2 minus a pound would be your day 2 cut weight.
Yeah,
like the top 51. Yeah,
Yep. The quality of the fisherman has changed that formula. You can double the weight now, and a lot of times with these guys, the elites, double the weight and add a pound. And it's totally the quality of the fisherman.
That's the same case this week. 13 pounds, 10 ounces was the top 51 cut after day one, and we have 27.10. So basically double that plus half a pound. Yeah, plus
you guys going to start listening to me when I tell you it's going to take over 100 pounds to win, or when I tell you the formula?
That's right.
Major addition to the team, just pointing it out.
I'm always right after the fact. Or at least by halftime, I'm usually pretty much on cue to be right. I change up just a little.
Before we get off the subject of shiners, you were talking about how these bass probably have no preference for a hothouse shiner versus a wild shiner. One of my favorite stories you ever tell, though, is about how bass can discern between bait fish, and is about that story from Clark's Hill, I think it is. Fella had the big bass in the tank at the bait store, and he did a sort of a taste test comparison with that bass. Would you tell that story? It's one of my favorites of all time.
This is a true story, and it was amazing to me. And when you've been fishing a long time, my whole life, you know, I started fishing tournaments when I was 12 years old. So I thought I'd seen a lot of stuff, and to be able to watch, I had a pet bass when I was a kid growing up, and I'd give him night crawlers or shiners, and I wouldn't feed him a lot, so when I dropped some in there, he basically always ate it. But I was with Guido and Dion Hibden. There was a big tournament coming up at Lake Murray, and they're friends of mine, and we were going by a tackle shop that had a big pet bass, 11-pounder, between 10 and 11 pounds. And I thought about it about the time we were going by. I wanted to stop and let Guido and Dion see the owner of the tackle shop feed, and I forget the bass, let's say George. Yeah. Going to feed the 10-pound bass named George in Dooley's Tackle Shop in Lexington, South Carolina. So I spun in there, and obviously the owner of the tackle shop knew who Guido and Dion Hibden were, and I said, I brought them by to let them watch you feed George. He said, I just fed George. True story. Probably won't eat now, but let me try. So he goes and gets some shiners, 2 or 3 shiners, and drops in a big tank, a whole lot bigger tank than I had. I mean, it was a huge aquarium, hundreds of gallons. Drops in the shiners in the tank. Well, the shiners get uncomfortable immediately because they know George is in the tank and they haven't been in a tank with George. So you can tell they're nervous. George totally ignores the shiners like he does it. He's oblivious, doesn't even know that they're in the tank with him, but he knows. Mm-hmm. And we stand there and watch for like 10 minutes, and I'm really wanting Guido and Dion Hibden to see George eat, because George is really impressive when he eats, to watch a 10-pounder engulf a bait fish. So the owner, we stood around, he said, no, he's not going to eat those shiners. He said, I'll try one more thing, a blueback herring. If he won't eat a blueback herring, he's not going to eat for hours. So he goes and gets a single blueback herring, drops in the tank, And the blueback heron is nervous because he notices George also. But immediately you can tell George doesn't like the blueback heron. Just very casually, you can tell the fins are moving more and more. And George just very casually moves across the tank, but is still literally a foot, 14 inches maybe so, away from the blueback heron, and opens his mouth and just creates a vacuum that the blueback heron honestly pulls from 12, 14 inches away to the back of George's throat. And just as fast as that heron disappeared in, he blew him out, and it hit the glass on the aquarium, and the heron fell to the bottom with both eyeballs sucked out of its head just that fast.
He just took the candy and spit him right out.
Right out.
Oh my God.
Just that fast.
That's a great story.
And I'll never forget Dion saying, that's one of those deals when you pitch under a dock and you feel the bait go poof, and then no, that wasn't one. It was just a 10-pounder that sucked the eyeballs out of your bait and spit it out just that fast. They're truly amazing. Truly amazing.
Such a great story.
So Timmy needs a George to
that's right.
Get him going mentally here.
Run into George here
he's
too long.
He's going
hungry George.
Yeah.
He's going to be fun. He's going to be fun. It's not his first rodeo. We've seen rookies do so good this year in both of our first 2 tournaments. This is one thing that the veterans can definitely do a little better than those young guns that have obviously done awesome this year. But deal with adversity when you're leading the tournament.
Speaking of the rookies, we had 6 more make the top 51 this week. We had 7 out of the 11 at Cherokee, and we had 6 out of 11 here this week. So a couple of familiar faces, Alton Jones Jr., Dustin Connell, Skylar Hamilton, and Jesse Wiggins. They all made the cut at Cherokee, but we have Jesse Tacarante, who's obviously in the top 10, and Tyler Carrier made their first top 51 cuts of their elite career. So two Southern anglers getting comfortable in Okeechobee, we'll say.
Saying it's a good class of rookies is what you're saying.
I'm saying it's going to be hard to make up some points on people unless you get in the top 12, because they're not going to be too far from the top 12 for sure.
The path that they have to travel to get to the Elite Series, only the good rookies get there. You know, they're proven when they get to the Elite Series.
And a lot of folks were saying, you know, that was Cherokee. We get down to Okeechobee, we're going to see some more of the more of the journeymen, the guys who've been around for several years, and you look at these 4 right here. That's exactly what we've got here today.
Tommy, you've been sitting on this side of the desk, the way I keep calling me, sitting on the boat and on the other side of the fence. Do you remember in any 2 events, but more importantly, the first 2 events, seeing some names down, 90 and below finishes in a tournament? Big names in 2 events like this ever?
Oh, no, not
it's
even
incredible.
I mean, it's incredible.
Wow.
It's like you say, Florida is dangerous.
Yeah.
Florida can mess you up in a big way. And one of our favorites for the Classic, who was doing great, I mean, was set up. I know you've been looking at his numbers, and that's Keith Combs running.
Yeah, I was curious to see. Steve Bowman said it yesterday, right at the end of the show, but Combs tailed off and did not make the cut. He finished 81st yesterday. One of his first missed cuts in over a year, But being, such a great start at Cherokee and then such a poor finish here heading into Conroe, do you think that affects his mentality, or he's so comfortable with Conroe that he's not going to get shaken by an Elite Series finish, that's subpar?
I don't think so. It's easy to sit here and guess on what's going on mentally with somebody, but you're just guessing.
Yeah,
you're just guessing.
Yep.
I mean, I've had tournaments where I finished terrible, and I shake them off because I knew certain things. Now, one Florida tournament in particular, I broke my rod setting the hook on a 9-pounder. And because it broke the rod, the hook, I got a good hook in the fish, so I started hand lining the fish on braid in. It was my only choice. The reel fell, and it was panic mode, just total chaos. But I had the fish, the 9-pounder, and I had it all the way up close to the boat, and there was a section of my rod. The rod actually busted in 3 pieces. Must have stepped on it a couple times, I guess. But there was a 12-inch piece of my rod tip out in the braid and almost right by the boat, almost as close as Timmy just had that 9-pounder, that piece of rod, the ragged fiberglass, graphite, cut the line. And I literally came so close to crying, a grown man crying. Because I had one in the live weight weighed a pound too, and I ended up weighing that fish in. I drive home knowing that I had 8-pound difference in my total weight at 12 inches from the tips of my fingers. And I finished 86th in that tournament. Just with that 8 pounds, would have made it to day 3 in about 30th place. But what do you do? What do you do? Timmy loses that 9 pounds. What do you do?
Control.
You go to the next one.
Yeah.
You control what you control, like every other sport. And the guys that are best at getting that out of their mind are the guys that are, the pros, the sure enough pros.
On the subject of cuts, now we were talking about Kevin Van Dam's record for consecutive cuts made.
Limits.
Limit.
Limits.
Limit. I'm sorry. I'm thinking it was cuts. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah.
Never mind.
He did make the cut, though. He did have a great afternoon yesterday, and Kevin made the cut.
Absolutely.
It's easy to get Kevin's records confused because he has so many.
I know. Because which Kevin record are we talking about? That's right. It's limit.
One interesting stat I noticed was that Gerald Swindle was in like 40th place or so after day 1. He fell down to 63rd place, so he didn't make the cut. This is his first missed cut since August of 2015. He had made every single cut in an Elite Series event since August of 2015. So
that is strong.
Bound for a slip up, but such a great 2016 campaign, and he did well at Cherokee as well. But
Gerald and I years ago had a ongoing little joke that when he and I came to Florida, we would stink it up, and I thought it only happened to me because I didn't know how to fish Florida. And then I had a few really good tournaments. The last 2 times we've been to St. John's, made top 10s. 2012 when we were at Okeechobee, I didn't stay up in second place, but the first day I was in second, made a good check there. But I was talking to Jake Wheeler the night before this tournament started because he won the first event. And being on pro staff with Jacob, I've been around him some, not a whole lot, but he amazed me. Our conversations, some things that he said and some things that he knew at his young age. And one thing that I took note to, he said, I will never judge a bass fisherman by one single tournament in Florida.
Yeah.
Because you can go out and catch 9 pounds or 29 pounds and do the exact same thing the next day and it be totally opposite.
No rhyme or reason to it.
He's exactly right. He's exactly right. And it took me my whole career to really figure that out. And just like you're mentioning with Gerald Swindle has had his worst finishes just like I have in Florida.
He's won in Florida too.
Yeah, but you just got to shake them off. You really do. Florida is a different animal.
Well, let's take a break here. We got a little Dixie Peck trivia. First crack at that today. We're going to roll out our first trivia question today. What lakes have held the most B.A.S.S. wins? Now, what does that mean, Truth?
I'm not responsible for this one.
Have held the most B.A.S.S.
I'm going to say A, B, C, and D because they all won wins at all of them.
We've had a winner at just about all of those, it seems like. We might need to rework that question and revisit that Dixie
Fear
Peck,
the beard.
We're not going to hold Dixie Peck Tires and Wheels responsible for that one right there.
Work on that one.
We're going to do a make good on that one and come back with the most
it's probably
events. Okay, all right. Go with. So now we're talking about, pick it A, B, C, or D. St. John's, Gunnersville, Rayburn. This place, Okeechobee. That's a good question, actually, now that we got it straightened out.
I'm going to say C.
Everybody's saying C. All right, we're not going to roll out the answer. We're going to keep you here through the break. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back to give you the answer and have a lot more fishing.
Continually proven on the tournament trail and with Skeeter owners everywhere with 14 consecutive NMMA CSI Consumer Satisfaction Awards. Our competition doesn't even come close. Right now, buy, save, fish with up to $1,500 in instant rebates through March 31st, including the newly redesigned limited edition FX series. Now is the best time to buy, save, fish. Skeeter.
Fishing fans, make plans to be at the 2017 Geico Bassmaster Classic, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, March 24th through the 26th in Houston, Texas. See 52 of the world's best anglers weigh in their catch from Lake Conroe at Minute Maid Park, home of the Houston Astros. A weigh-in show like never before and one you've got to see in person. Check out the biggest outdoors expo in B.A.S.S. history, featuring the latest in fishing gear, giveaways, and more. Fun for the whole family, and all events are free. Join us in Houston for the Geico Bassmaster Classic and be a part of the most exciting 3 days in fishing, period.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
If you love bass fishing, then show your support by joining B.A.S.S. today. Since 1968, B.A.S.S. has been serving bass fishing enthusiasts with information and tournament coverage that make you a better angler. When you sign up today, you'll join over 500,000 outdoorsmen who love bass fishing. With your membership, you'll receive every issue of Bassmaster magazine, plus $50 in free gear, including a membership tackle bag, BASS cap, plus more. Log on to Bassmaster.com to join Bass today.
Oh, yeah! Awesome. Awesome. Yes! Woo! It's a big one. Giant. Boom! Dude, and I just got a hook in my hand. Right here. That's bad. Don't tell me, just do it. Just like that. Got it. That's a big one, big one. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, that makes me happy right there. That's a big one. Woo! What's going on here, man? What's up with that? Yes! Yes! Come on, give me some, baby. Give me some. Yes! Those are the kind we need right there. Yeah! Nice! Yes, sir. He's got it. Big one, big one. Yes! Yes! Yeah! Yes! Yeah, boys! Oh, stay on there! Yeah! That's what we after right there, boys.
31 pounds, 7 ounces! The legendary Mr. Rick Clun knocks the lights out! Ricky Clun gets it done! From Lake Wiley, South Carolina, Britt Meyer! 5 pounds, 13 ounces! Britt Meyer smashes him in front of his hometown crowd! Your champion, ladies and gentlemen, let me hear it for Randall Thurm! 16 pounds and 2 ounces! The Honey Badger hammers him on Championship Sunday! Get loud for Takahiro Amore! 16 pounds, 10 ounces! Takahiro Amore, your champion! From Kalamazoo, Michigan, KVD, Kevin Van Dam! 21 pounds, 6 ounces! KVD gets it done with win number 21! The Hack Attack whacks him on Championship Sunday! Your champion, Greg Hackney! 12 pounds, 10 ounces! KVD gets it done! 19 pounds, 13 ounces! Justin Lucas lays the lugger to the Potomac River! 12 pounds and an ounce! Opti Foe is an Elite Series champion! Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year! The G-Man gets it done and finishes in spot number 1!
Is this being in the moment? Is this hanging out? And is this really playing with your kid? Don't stop what you're doing to capture what you're doing. Keep running, keep playing, keep dancing. Just keep doing.
GoPro, start recording.
The competition is fierce and the prizes are huge. The only thing missing is you. Fantasy Fishing presented by Toyota. Sign up for free and face fans from across the nation. Grand prize winner receives a Triton Yamaha package, including a Triton 189 TRX. MSRP of $37,293. The classic and each individual elite event winner will receive $2,500 Bass Pro Shops gift cards, with the runner-up receiving a GoPro Hero 4 Black camera. Sign up and pick your team today at Bassmasterfantasy.com.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
Now for your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year.
Think you could win valuable prizes from Bassmaster? You can't know unless you enter, and entering is easy. Go to Bassmaster.com. Enter now for a chance to win a fishing trip with 2016 Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year Gerald Swindle. Trip includes airfare, rental car, hotel, and $500 cash, plus a Triton 17 TX bass boat, Mercury engine, and Gerald's gear from Humminbird, Minn Kota, GoPro, and more. You, the winner of a valuable prize? Could be. All you have to do to get your shot is go to Bassmaster.com and enter today and every day. Hey, it could be you.
Facts matter. All monofilament is not the same. Berkley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkley has been making and perfecting trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkley trilene, and that is a fact.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee. Brought to you live by Hook.
Bassmaster Live continues on this third day of competition on Okeechobee, second stop of the year. The best anglers in the world. Bassmaster Elite Series. Timmy Horton started this day with a substantial lead. Odd Defo, our day one leader, though, has caught him during the course of the day. Timmy's still looking for his first keeper of the day, and of course, we'll probably see this replayed all day long. He lost a mighty big largemouth bass in the last hour there, 9 pounds by his estimation. So that's a big event, any way you cut it. Hey, a trivia answer. We got to hit that real quick. Take a look at which lake, and everybody here, I think, was saying C. It's going to be Rayburn. Is that right? Let's see.
About how many tournaments do you think were on Rayburn?
Oh, well, I don't know. That's the next trivia question, maybe. Let's see, or it'll probably be included in the answer. Let's see our answer. Is it A, B, C, or D?
Hey,
right? 31.
hey.
I think 31 is the number you're looking for there.
31 is the number.
Yeah. That's
Gunnersville second with 22.
Which one?
Gunnersville is second. Okeechobee, 21. St. John's River, 19. Kind of surprising.
That's more St. John's than I would have thought, to be honest with you. We skipped so many years there. Do you guys remember the Florida tax? We Bassmaster didn't go to Florida for quite a few years.
Right, yeah.
What was the deal? Research that for us, Sue. We went on a dry spell there, maybe mid-90s, from like mid-90s to about 2000, mid 4 or 5.
Just no Florida events at all?
No Florida
put
events,
some
and
big
something about a tax.
Launch fees on you or license tax?
It was some license tax, just government stuff, just messing with our fishing. But
there you go.
I'll try to, if you can't find that, I'll see if my wife doesn't have anything better to do on a Saturday morning, get her to research it for us.
I'll look and see what's going on there. St. John's is tied with Lake Eufaula, though.
Heck, we can call Tripp if we need to. Come on.
Oh, he'll certainly know. You mentioned Timmy losing that 9-pounder. It's what people love to see, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. We've got 2 great shots of him, landing a great big one and losing that one.
Yeah,
and he'll love that video if he goes on and wins this thing like he's got a great opportunity to do, but certainly just wanting to get it off his mind right
Just
now.
as powerful as catching a big one is
It
seeing
is.
the size of
It
one
is.
that you almost got in the boat.
When you watch a NASCAR, the Daytona 500 coming up, when you watch that race, we all love to see the checkered flag be waved in front of a certain car, but the next best thing is the race. That's what fans love to see, and how you deal with those
big old 20-car
adverse-
pileup and so
Yep.
forth.
Yep.
We just had a advisory from the truck outside. It says Timmy Horton did catch another keeper while we were at break. While we were at our break right there, our camera signal had temporarily gone askew, and we don't have that to show you. But as you can see, the result, he's basically tied up with Ott Defo right now.
Did you hear that buzz in the air? It's not killer bees. I saw Timmy look up. I think our
Gnats.
drone is right above him.
Oh, drone.
What were you going to say, Such?
Gnats.
Gnats.
A big swarm of gnats.
Boy, if that's gnats, I'd be heading for the hills.
I did find from like 92 through like 98, we didn't have hardly any events in Florida, but I'll look why now.
Okay.
I knew you could figure it. There's the drone. There's
Big
the
white
drone.
mosquito.
You know, that's today's technology. It's a lot better. I remember in one Bassmaster Classic, I had when you guys were using helicopters all the time, I had a helicopter hover over me. It certainly had to affect the fish. That drone, Timmy's looking up at it several times, but certainly not as much of a distraction as the helicopters were back in the day.
No, it couldn't be. It's just like it sounds like a swarm of bees.
We got some really cool stuff. Garrick Dixon, photographer, drone driver. He's the one operating that. Some great shots yesterday and day one from aerials to get a picture of what Okeechobee looks like from above.
You think back to talking about the Classic, that incredible Classic last year. I mean, the drone shot of what Edwin was fishing there on that final day. I mean, it's priceless.
It really
couldn't
is.
explain it any better than that one drone shot.
You can talk about how clear that water was all week long. We talked about it, and the wind wasn't blowing, and you know, if that wind blows, it's going to change things, that sort of thing. But that drone shot of Edwin catching that big fish out of the log jam, I mean, it looked like a swimming pool.
Oh, absolutely.
It was awesome. Like you say, just priceless shot.
Oh, Dave, you say you never liked a helicopter flying around you?
Well,
ruining your fishing?
It's always good and bad. There's a reason they're around you. You're having a good tournament, but certainly that had to affect the fish. A helicopter just, you know, right over.
I can imagine.
Might not have been exactly.
I'm not done with the drone.
He don't like it.
We'll get that B-roll later. I don't need that right now.
It's interesting. Our sport has changed. It's changed a lot.
Absolutely.
Bass life has changed. It's great. It's great for us to be able to sit here and talk about this, but it's just added distractions or added pressure on a guy leading a tournament.
And everything's a little more transparent now. People know a little bit more. Of course, that horse had already left the barn before. With the internet.
It really had. And you just have to adjust to it. All sports change. When I started, you know, for a long time didn't even have the helicopter thing. Then it was the helicopters. But it's just it's technology. Our sports changed, and we're going to have to adapt to it. We all want to be on a quiet little farm pond with no distractions on the final day leading an event.
Nobody watching.
The reason that guys are able to make a really good living in this sport is certainly a big part of this, and you have to weigh all those things together and do the best you can.
They call
with
him
them.
Same for everybody, pretty much.
It is.
That's the important thing.
That's very important. You've got to understand.
Yeah, it's got to be.
No matter who would be leading this tournament right now, the same stuff would be going on. And this.
Oh, the cooler, Wes. One of the Wes Willer, one of the JM guys, the camera guy who's been out here for 100 years. And
100 years. Wow.
I remember listening to Kevin making top 12s with him, and they put Wes with Kevin and cool him right down. Of course, a lot of times though too, it don't really matter, you know. But it's the standing joke with a lot of the fishermen is Wes is the chill man. On a hot streak, cool you right down.
He does have that reputation, but
Mueller the
always
cooler.
a pretty good,
A 9-pounder right around here in this area.
pretty good luck charm for me. I won some tournaments with Wes in my boat. I'm gonna have to defend him a little bit.
He's been with plenty of winners in his day, but right, for a while he's AKA Mueller the Cooler, Wes Miller.
Wrote a story on that. He says, "No, look at me. I've had more winners than anybody else."
There you go.
Any other cameraman.
I think that's interesting how people think of jinxes or superstitions as if we talk about a free throw or something and then they miss it. They're like, oh, you jinxed him. And like, if only my words had that much impact.
Absolutely.
You know, he
That's
can't
right.
even hear us talking about it. You know, it's like,
yeah,
it's funny.
It's all right up here, you know, right up between your ears.
It'd be
Hey,
interesting
Timmy-
to see who he cooled off, quote unquote, to see which anglers he cooled off, you know.
Had Timmy landed that 9-pounder, that drone would not be distracting him as much as it was
No,
right there.
absolutely not.
To me, I see in the background things that are much more distracting. There's more local anglers out there, but there again, it's the field that we play on. It is Saturday morning on one of the best big bass lakes in the country. You hit the nail on the head, Tommy. You have to understand, everybody's dealing with the same thing.
Everybody's going to deal with it.
Found your answer, Davey.
Found my answer.
Florida put a 6% tax on tournament entry fees.
Yes,
and they cut that off to bring back, in the hopes of bringing back bass tournaments.
And it did, because
Pete
in
Robbins,
that
you got to
period,
give Pete
B.A.S.S.
Robbins
would-
assist for that story.
Yeah. Why would you want to put a 6% tax on a bass tournament? You know? Other than to just create money.
Yeah.
But
that's a little like
Bass
a speed
did a
trap.
good job.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Bass did a good job not coming here with that kind of nonsense, and they lifted it, and now we got great tournaments in sunny Florida.
Absolutely.
Again.
And one more thing on the drones. I don't know if you guys read the paper. I think it was yesterday morning, talking about a drone that somebody was using, taking some pictures at a little county fair somewhere, and he buzzes over some of these Clydesdales pretty low, and one of them goes crazy, busts loose, and knocks about 8 people over.
Oh my goodness.
So, you know.
We're going to see some
that doesn't help.
Timmy looks
talking
like he's
about that,
still
though.
looking at it, looking for it.
Hey guys.
He's talking to the drone.
Cut it off.
It will crash if you cut it off.
Yeah.
It's really messing with him.
Yes, it is. You may have read the Clydesdale story.
Better watch out. He's going to just push pull out and start swinging.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Like putting on the 18th hole with a darn drone going on.
That's a good point. But this isn't golf. But for whatever reason, golfers don't like any distractions whatsoever, and they act like a Clydesdale when you do have one. But the course they compete on aren't Saturday morning open to the public courses either.
No, that's right. That's exactly right. And if you go to one of those PGA events, they do put up with a lot of distractions. Anytime they hit a ball, there's thousands of people walking up and down the fairway to the side of them, something that would drive the average weekend golfer crazy if he had to tee off among that. But they do get ticky about things like cameras going off and shadows on their ball and stuff like that, people heads moving, shadows on the ball. So
I'm not a golfer, but I've gone to the Masters a few times because it's close to where I live, and such a amazing place for whether you're a golfer or not. But the only distraction I've provided is how many egg salad sandwiches and pimento cheese sandwiches that I eat
and
at the
lemonade.
Masters in Augusta.
That's
Absolutely, it's awesome.
That's all you can get there. That's all there is to eat, and
they
that's all
are
anybody
awesome.
wants.
Absolutely. So the distraction of the drone, because it really has messed with Timmy a little bit. Mm-hmm. This live coverage has changed our sport so much in a very, very positive way. I was just thinking, I think on the flight over here, will there come a day where our Rapala 5 Live are covered by a man sitting in the back of your boat with a drone where he can get shots other than straight behind you.
I mean, you know, I think that's a possibility, a definite possibility. You get one of these, well, I mean, the nature of the beast is you're just going to see the backside of the angler
Right.
for 6 hours.
But with a drone,
with a drone, you can get right there, get on, look at his eyes when he's taking a cast and everything
Absolutely.
like that. It's
I did a photo shoot at home before I came here and hired a young guy that was really, really good with a drone and do some footage, and it was incredible, the pictures that we got. And I got back home and I wanted my wife to see what this guy could do with the drone, and I've got a river cabin about 1.5 miles away from my house. And he launches the drone in our driveway, flies down 1.5 miles, gets these great photo shots of my cabin, and about 15, 20 minutes into it, he says, it's low on batteries. It automatically told itself, time to come back, no more playing around.
Wow.
With him doing nothing, it brought itself back, set itself down exactly on the spot that in my driveway he took off. Just incredible.
Unbelievable.
Just incredible. Some great photos.
Hank Cherry caught a 6-pounder.
Good for Hank.
Best looking stuff here.
a bit of a lull here. It's been a while
It
since
really
we've
is.
seen a keeper, especially from these two guys. I think we just got Dean with the one, Jim with the two small ones.
We still in? We're going skirts.
I mentioned that Timmy, being a veteran that he is, and he'll shake off losing that fish. I sure think so. But you only get limited amount of opportunities to win one of these things, and he knows that too.
Oh yeah.
I've been in the exact same situation, and you know when you do lead one of these, you need to seal the deal, because not many times on day 3 or day 4 do you get the opportunity to win one. And you would think he would not have much pressure on him today because he had such a big lead going in, but you just apply more and more pressure to yourself because he's just a competitor and he wants to close the deal.
Yeah, you look at him, he's definitely one of the upper echelon guys, and it's been low these many years since Lake Champlain when he closed him out early on day 4.
Yep. Yesterday afternoon, just an hour or so before weigh-in, we were starting to talk about pizza on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Like he did with that win at Champlain. And those thoughts aren't going through his mind right now.
Yeah, call Little Caesars and tell him just hold on.
Right.
Be patient. We talk about these drone shots. We got some fantastic ones of the lake here, and we'll be rolling them out as we go through our Hummingbird Lay of the Lake. We're going to revisit that right again. Just take in the look of Okeechobee. That's a different look at it right there, but that shows you exactly the kind of spots these guys are fishing out here today. Again, 750 square miles and an average depth of 9 feet. That leaves it very exposed to even the slightest wind. Thousands of years of decayed vegetation below the surface of the water there. I mean, it's not hard to get things stirred up on a place like Okeechobee.
These are great shots, and Stephen Brown this morning did a great job describing the calm places versus the ripple on the water, those calm places being where the grass is actually either matted up or very, very close to the surface. And here you see, if it were cold, one of the cold tournaments that we've had here before, this stuff that's really, really thick, totally matted up, exposes where those fish really like to get under. And then the scattered pads like you have here, they love to spawn in those areas on the pad roots. We've talked about that.
Sure.
Because of the soft bottom in so many of these areas. It's just, it's a fish factory for really big ones, and Timmy needs one right now.
What is interesting, he does have a lot more patience with the technology, the drones. I saw him tweet last night. He was, Bassmaster Live's the best thing that's ever happened in this sport, in the last decade. So he understands that all, and I know that's probably from his background with TV and stuff that he knows, like he said, we'll get those shots later. So he knows I'm going to go catch a couple big ones, and you guys can do whatever you want. Just I got to get my head straight.
Oh, yeah, he's
These guys, yeah, I talked to Timmy. I didn't get to last night, but the night before, he was so busy last night, and I had watched him all day.
Sure, I mean, there weren't
I knew what he was doing.
You didn't need any more info.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I talked to him the night before. Super to talk to. And if you look at any sport, when those guys are competing, they're not the same guy that they are. You know, Tom Brady isn't the same guy he is when he's, you know, down by 28 in a Super Bowl than he is on a, you know, out to breakfast or lunch or whatever. I mean, you've got to have that mental focus and toughness, and you don't want any distractions. You got to understand that's just part of, these guys are all super guys in their own different ways. I've known Timmy for a long time, but I know what he's going through right now. He wants to close the deal. It's been a little while for him, and he's got an opportunity, and he doesn't want it to slip away. He wants to do everything he can, humanly possible, to close this deal.
Have you perceived that he's trying to press just a little bit today, that maybe he's fishing a little faster? He's not working over these key spots as fastidiously as he did on day number 2?
I compare our sport to other sports you know, I competed in high school and my sons and all that. And I talk about comparison with football a lot. When you score on your opening drive, you have a different mentality than you do when you fumble or throw an interception on your opening drive. The first 2 days he scored on his opening drive 8-pounders. Today, instead of that scoring throw, he threw an interception, lost a 9-pounder. I'm not saying it's anything he could have done about it. Sometimes quarterbacks, the receiver runs the wrong route. There's a lot of things that he may or may not have been able to control, but it's a lot easier to say, that 8-pounder's in the live well, than to say, biggest fish all week, I just lost.
Yeah.
You have to deal with it.
Like you say, he's a veteran. He's been there before. He knows how to, he's got mechanisms to deal with this kind of thing.
I certainly think that we need to keep that in mind. A lot of great young fishermen, rookie fishermen in the Elite Series this year, more than ever. But you can't overlook that a veteran will overcome losing a 9-pounder better than a rookie. When I was a rookie, I couldn't handle it as good as I could 20 years later. It's just more experience. You've been through this. You deal with it. Those veterans still breathe real hard and their hearts pump when they land that big fish. We saw Timmy out of breath landing those 2 big 8-pounders. I would have been the exact same way. We all do that catching them, but how you deal with those losses as a veteran is a little different than a rookie.
And very important too. We're going to take a break here very quickly. Our power pole replay of the day again. I mean, we're going right back to the well. Timmy Horton, but for different reasons than he was our power play of the day every time yesterday. Day number 2. This was the big moment of this tournament so far.
You hate to see that.
Oh, man.
Hate to see that. He does everything right, in my opinion, up till maybe the last point. I would question that, but it's a lot easier to say that sitting here, Tommy.
Oh, absolutely.
I've made mistakes. I told you I still remember losing a fish in 1996 that I did something wrong. Been making mistakes landing fish for a long time.
I think the first time that fish stuck his head out of the water, there was an adrenaline surge inside. It would be in any human being. It's got to affect you in some way or another. Timmy Horton getting the bad end of this incident right here, but he'll be back, and we'll be back after this.
The ARE Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee is brought to you by Shell Rotella, Yamaha, Triton Boats, Toyota, Power Pole, and by Skeeter Boats.
Man, it's slow today. Yep.
Mom, I caught a fish. Good job, sweetie.
Hey, what kind of lure is that?
It's a Livingston. They have electronic bait fish sounds that activate as soon as they hit the water. Easiest way to catch a fish.
Hey, thanks.
Think you could win valuable prizes from Bassmaster? You can't know unless you enter, and entering is easy. Go to Bassmaster.com. Enter now for a chance to win a fishing trip with 2016 Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year Gerald Swindle. Trip includes airfare, rental car, hotel, and $500 cash. Plus a Triton 17 TX bass boat, Mercury engine, and Gerald's gear from Humminbird, Minn Kota, GoPro, and more. You, the winner of a valuable prize? Could be. All you have to do to get your shot is go to Bassmaster.com and enter today and every day. Hey, it could be you.
What is this meeting about again?
Fishing. Took my boat, boom, jumped over it, and I caught a giant. It was like a whale.
29 pounds, baby!
That's the last time I danced on stage.
Wow. Chief Fishing Officer.
How do I get that job?
I don't know.
Go to teamgtfishing.com to find out more about my real job.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
A couple of hours into this third day of competition, still thinking ahead to a month from this third day of competition. We'll be knee-deep in the Grand Championship, the World Championship of Fishing, the Geico Bassmaster Classic, Minute Maid Park there. That's where we're going to have these fantastic weigh-ins. The weigh-in is the iconic symbol of the Bassmaster Classic. All that entertainment, all the excitement, the boats. You get to see everybody's rig as they parade through and show what they got on their way to a championship. Edwin Eber's the guy who got it done. People said he always would get it done, and he finally got it done in 2016. Who's going to be the champion in 2017? Should be great competition on a lake that has every promise you could possibly want. Big fish, lots of fish. Going to have some good weather conditions. Nobody's going to slip off the road on the ice getting up to Lake Conroe. As sure as I say that, there'll be a freak of nature weather storm, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be a great one. One of the great cities in America, Houston, Texas. Everybody's getting ready, geared up for it. We need you to get geared up too. This was moments ago. Dean Rojas, take a look.
Good fish.
Yes. Good one.
Boy, that's...
Yeah. 4-pounder.
I'm gonna take a closer look at that one.
Is it up?
He's holding up for the drone.
Yeah, there you go.
He likes the drone.
He's embracing the drone.
When we catch a fish, we're more drone friendly.
Yeah, we love the drone. When he's making us look good.
That got him within 8 pounds of Tim Horton.
Wow, still 8 pounds.
See what happens when you go skirtless?
No comment.
Nope.
The sun comes up. What did he say before the
females go crazy?
Go crazy, and now he's talking about going skirtless.
Okay.
What's he got on his mind? I don't know if he's focused. I was going to talk about that just a little bit. He'd been using the punt skirt.
Yeah.
And Timmy not many guys using that punt skirt. It adds to more bulk. I think because he wasn't getting bites this morning, he decided to go skirtless, and obviously it's paid off so far.
Paid off just a little bit. Not too much difference between that and what Timmy's throwing right now, is there?
No. I can't emphasize enough, Tommy. Quality versus quantity. It's Octafo is catching a lot more fish than Timmy and Dean, but the quality just isn't there. The section of the lake he is on, I think the big reason those fish are more post-spawn, catching a lot more fish because of the shad spawn, but just not the quality, not those big females that come up when the sun comes out.
Stephen Browning working on top right now. I got a nice shot of that. It's kind of hard to take your eyes off that lower left quadrant right there.
Love it. Especially on Lake Okeechobee.
Oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
See a 10-pounder eat that top water bait. Haven't seen him do this the last 2 days.
No. First time for that.
Those guys around that monkey box area on the North Shore struggled a little bit about this time of the day yesterday. It picked back up later in the day, but Stephen probably thought about that last night and some things that he might be able to do to get a big bite when it had this mid-morning lull. And it's about the time that things really started picking up for Dean and for Timmy. Let's hope they pick up for him today.
Yeah.
Now, Davey, I haven't got the chance to fish Okeechobee much, but when you're throwing topwater like that, I mean, are there a lot of bowfin in Okeechobee, or are there a lot of different, fish that you can catch? Like, I went punching the other day and I caught a non-bass when I didn't even expect to at Dardanelle. So, does Okeechobee have a lot of other species that'll eat that?
That's certainly other species, but I wouldn't say a lot. When we go up north, the pike, muskie, and all those things, it seems like you have more non-bass, as you put it, bite your bass baits. When you go to Louisiana, you're certainly going to have to, put up with some redfish, eat
redfish.
Yeah, absolutely. Winter trout, speckled trout, all those things. But I don't think Okeechobee has an abnormal amount of non-bass that eat your bass lures. Brett Heights sent me a picture a couple nights ago. Is hummingbird side imaging of a manatee, but they don't bite topwater.
No, not yet.
It was an awesome picture that he had on his side imaging of.
Red Height catching a few. He's got 4 fish already today. Undoubtedly working at the vibrating jig a little bit.
Yep. Don't count him out, and keep Cliff Prince in mind. He told me that he was going to try to do some things this morning, like the topwater prop bait, to get a few bites, but late in the day, the first 2 days, is when he's caught his fish that he brought to the scales. And yesterday afternoon, he said he saw enough fish moving into his area to possibly catch a 30-pound bass.
So I have a question on that, because I heard that as well. How do you resist from starting there? If you see that to end your day, some giants, or in the afternoon maybe, how hard is it not to just go and try to maybe catch them on top water or something?
That's a great question. I would do that, but now he's a veteran Florida fisherman. These fish are moving in to spawn, and he said those females pull off of those beds during the night, and first thing in the morning they're not there, and then later in the day, those bigger fish that he's going to have a chance to catch Timmy, that's when they move in.
Well,
Dean,
it's a lot smaller than the Toho fish. But I believe he's 12. Oh yeah, 13 inches, so that's a small keeper.
We go to these bodies of water where you're catching a lot of 12 and 13 inch fish. You can know within a 1/16 of an inch when you swing a fish in if he's 12, but when you're catching 5 to 8, 9 pounders, when you catch a 13 incher, it looks like a minnow.
Yeah, that's right.
You have to measure them.
You better measure just to be sure, right?
Looks like Timmy's, there's some local fishermen.
No. We can do a pinky.
On there this morning.
For that one.
Well, he said it himself. A lot more boats out there today.
Yeah. Make sure you tell them now. Don't be shy.
They're listening. You tell them.
That was my cameraman's fault, by the way. That was a failed fist pump hand slap.
Want some redemption?
Just keep holding it out there. Just keep holding it out there. Okay.
Oh, they bonded out there.
I think that was success at last.
Actually, a 12.5 incher requires a pinky, not a fist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're totally.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, we're cool.
We're cool.
I love it down here.
Yeah.
No problem, bro. No.
The cameraman just jinxed him.
So I was getting back to my story on Lake Toho. When I caught those last 3 big ones, it was the conditions were identical to what we have right now. Flat, high sky, no clouds. And when that sucker hit about 11:30, 12 o'clock, it was high noon. They were easy, man. I caught another 10, 8.5 and the 7.5 to go with my other 10 and 9. And something about the afternoon like this with floor strain, they just bite, man. It's shallow like this, the water heats up, it gets really aggressive. That's when it's fun.
Dean's talking about when he caught that record catch at Lake Toho. Similar conditions, but different. And I want to talk about why real quick.
Sure.
He was sight fishing those fish.
Yes.
And Cliff Prince wants the day that we're having today. And Dean's caught a few fish, obviously. But I think that little bit of wind that they had yesterday on that area, we noticed that Timmy a few times would pull his trolling motor up and let the wind just ease him through those places so quietly and not spooking these fish. I don't think, and we'll see, Dean might catch a 30-pound bag, and I'll tell him, you certainly taught me something, but I think a little bit of wind, just enough to just ease you along without your trolling motor some, and you can sneak up on these fish, so to speak. Like we mentioned, that 9-pounder that Timmy had on earlier, that's not the first jig it's ever seen kind of deal. They get a lot of pressure. And I think just a very, very slight wind would help when you're fishing like this and flipping and pitching versus, sight fishing. This is the perfect scenario like he had at Lake Toho when he caught that giant stringer.
Well, you want to believe, Dean, that it's a day exactly like that, and there might be a result like that somewhere. As we get on up into the day, he said the midday was the best part of the day for that. First hour was the worst part of the day for Timmy Horton today, and that's what he's trying to battle back from now.
We've seen it a few times, but it just breaks your heart to see it. He's been flawless. And we talked about that a lot yesterday.
We did.
For him to catch a 30-pound bag and not lose a single fish in this heavy cover was simply amazing. And you had to know it was going to happen. You just don't want it to happen on a 9-pounder.
Speaking of that 9-pounder, Steve Wright came in with an interesting blog. He talked to Rojas, who said he tried to flip that in, the 9-pounder in. Then he said it was coming fast, and a lot of times you can do that with a big one if they're coming right to the boat. But that one turned away, and he had to grip it.
Thank you. Hey guys, I'm gonna come right through here. I appreciate it.
To put Timmy's 9-pound loss in perspective, there was 19 bags weighed in yesterday that were less than 9 pounds. So that one fish is bigger than, a fifth of the field's weight from yesterday.
Not just any old field either, the Bassmaster Elite field.
The best of the best.
Are you going to tell Timmy about that, Ronnie? You want me to...
I think I'm going to text him right now.
On the line
maybe.
With Timmy.
I'll have the drone messengers deliver that one.
There you go. That's right. He's still leading, though, according to Bass Track, right? Keep that in mind.
For sure.
Yeah.
Plenty of time up. We saw him go that second session. Remember, we saw that 8-pounder, and that we were content with that in the first session yesterday. That second session was really when he started tearing it up.
Exactly right.
The afternoon bite.
Dean said the afternoon's going to be better. I said we've got every reason to think that the best is yet to come.
It's going to be good for some guys. I'll be curious to see, without any wind, the guys that you see Octafo there, he's obviously looking. Cliff Prince, Octafo, some guys that have been doing a little bit of that sight fishing each day, this is what they pray for. Because I think it's going to really hurt some guys that are throwing vibrating jigs and even some guys that are flipping this cover to have that slick, calm condition. Doesn't help you at all. The forecast, though, the T&H Marine forecast tells us the wind's going to blow a little bit in the afternoon, and that'll probably turn them on. Tomorrow's, forecast is for it to blow 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's a typical Florida day. It just blows more in the afternoon than it does in the morning. That's just a kind of a...
And it'll, in my opinion, it'll certainly help Timmy if it does that. And it should, like you say, it's typical Florida day. Fog in the morning, wind in the afternoon.
Wind in the afternoon. Thunderstorm about 4 o'clock.
Every day.
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting, guys, I'm looking at Bass Track numbers coming in. We talked about how many 1 to 2 pounders, 2 to 3 pounders we've seen all day, and not many of those big 5+ pounders. When we have seen them, there's been a couple in a row. Brandon Lester caught the 5, Hank Cherry caught a 6, and Keith Poche caught a 6 within 5 minutes of each other, which is interesting. Out of the whole span of an hour, there'll be 4 or 5 big fish, and they'll normally be within 5 to 10 minutes of each other, which is it's eerie, and there's a connection there somewhere, whether
really
it's location or something.
The only connection I've ever been able to make is when all the cows in the pasture stand up.
That's right. That's right.
When they're laying down, you don't catch 5 pounders.
There you go.
That even left Sue.
And that's the one thing.
Speechless.
Yeah, that's the one thing that Okeechobee does have in common with every place else we fish. When somebody catches one somewhere,
yep,
you can just about make book on the fact that there's 3 or 4 other guys hooking up at the same time.
It's eerie, like Ronnie said. You don't know it out on that end, which I've been on for so long, but since I've been on this side of the table, I've certainly noticed that. It's incredible. Somebody will figure out why that is one of these days.
Well, what's interesting about I talked about that with Swindle at a media event at Texoma. He caught that 7-pounder on day 1, and Casey actually had big fish for the tournament, and that was a 7-pounder on day 1. They caught those fish within 2 minutes of each other, and he told me, he looked straight at me, serious as a heart attack. Something with the moon was right. He said something with the direction or the area. Those fish were there. So if you're hung up in that bush when the moon's right, or you're running to another spot, you could have missed your window and not even know it. You know, that for that 5-minute window of catching maybe your biggest fish of the day.
I think the moon certainly affects wildlife, but I don't think it's the only factor. But you're exactly right. If you were hung up in the reeds when the moon was right the last 2 days, you're driving home today.
Well, and
there you go.
Somebody could have had 2 big ones, you know, hung up in a bush that came off in that same 5-minute window that we won't ever know about, you know, unless they talk about it on stage.
It's so interesting standing in the weigh-in line through the 23 years that I fished. Everybody's got a story. And most of those stories, except for the winners, the top couple guys, are about losing one. You know, it happens so much, and we miss those stories if you're not able to stand in that weigh-in line. Because we don't interview those guys that have those sad stories because they're
the
like
ones
I said,
that got
driving
away.
home.
I interviewed the first 4 guys out of the Classic, and there's some interesting. I asked them for one instance that they lost their Classic bid.
Yep.
Like Biffle said, he pitched a log wrong, a branch in the water. He hooked a 4-pounder and lost it. He says, boy, if I was thinking, I would have came from the other direction.
Yeah.
Fred Rambanis released a fish.
Oh, yeah.
That could have got him in there.
That we remember.
I was lucky enough to have one Classic that I did everything right, or most things right in one, but out of the 14 Classics I fished, I had an opportunity to win 3 of them. And the other 2, I lost fish close to the boat that I don't really know. It wasn't one side of the log or the other. They just opened water and came off. One of them was a Pittsburgh Classic that Kevin won, and the other one was in '96 when George Cochran won that I finished second in that one. Just losing one fish that I've had it do over again 100 times, and I've done it over in my head a million times. I don't know what I could have done any different. It just, the moon wasn't right at that moment, whatever the deal was.
The cows weren't standing up.
But I think it's amazing that I had 3 opportunities. I'm lucky that one of them worked out. Because you just don't get, like we talk about with Timmy closing this deal, you realize your chances are so limited, even for great anglers. You just don't get a chance to win one of these deals.
Harder every year.
So what's he thinking right now? I got to get my limit.
What I hope he's thinking is he hasn't had a lot of bites like some of the other guys. But when he gets a bite, they're game changers. Just put him in the boat. Because he's still, like I mentioned, he's still leading. He catch one of those 9-pounders, he almost
he's running
puts it
away.
out of reach.
He's running away.
Just one bite. He needs to think that because the bites that he's been getting. Now, if you're Ott or Stephen Browning or Brett Hite, some of those guys have been catching a lot more numbers but haven't been able to catch the quality every day. I would feel worse if I was in their shoes because having that big bite has been so random, as Mark Davis would say.
Mm-hmm.
But with Timmy, they've been big.
Let's get some quick Timmy Horton trivia going here while we're waiting on that big bite. Why did Tim Horton briefly ask B.A.S.S. that he be known as Timmy Horton? Now, who knows I know that story. But,
I know part of it.
Yeah.
I know some of it.
I know some of it. You probably know some of it, Ron.
I know nothing of that. It's
It was
probably
before you
my
were
time.
born. That's a favorite saying to Ronnie now.
Yeah, that's right.
It was before you were born. You know, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, if it was 2011, it was just about before he was born. So
Do any of our fans know that? Tweet it in if you know.
That's good trivia right there.
That is good trivia. And it's an interesting story, and it's a sort of an unfortunate fact of life in this day and age we live in. Log on. Tell us what your best guess is if you know it. Congratulations to you, but we'll take that down for a minute. Let you join the conversation, as they say. Hashtag Bass Live. Tweet us your answer. We'll lay out what we understand to be the answer in just a few minutes.
I'll have to guess that before we display it, just to see since I know nothing of that. I'll have to guess to see.
It involves another sport. I'll give you that clue. A different sport. Ronnie, think about that. Let's go from Tim Horton over to Ott Defo. Other side of the lake here, where he's been hanging out for most of this tournament. Not too far from where he knocked out 31 pounds on day number 1. This was moments ago. Ott Defo.
I love that hook set. Begging.
I think that's the male, though.
That's why he said like that. He was looking at it. He said, I think that's the male. He sees a big one there. We need to stay with him. A lot of times you catch that female right after you catch the male.
Yeah, let's don't leave.
Oh, it's barefoot.
We can't control our picture leaving us, though, but sometimes it only takes a second or two to get it cleared up. We'll put that one in the box, keep him off the scene of the crime there, so I can work on the big one.
The closest guy to launch, and we're having trouble with him. Service this morning.
And we got Timmy and Dean way across the lake coming in fine.
Bill Lowen just caught a 3.5. He's up to 16.5, making a run, but it's going to be pretty hard when he started today, 25 pounds behind Horton.
I got to share a text I just got with you, Tommy.
All right.
My son is a first lieutenant stationed in Afghanistan right now, deployed in Afghanistan.
Yes.
I just got a text from him. They're 9.5 hours ahead of us. It's a long ways away, obviously. But watch your Bass Live. We were talking earlier about the drones and technology and things. So he's in Afghanistan, and he saw a segment that I did with Ronnie yesterday. And him being the military son that he is, he told me, you sounded great, but keep your hands out of your pocket, Staff Sergeant, which was my rank.
Oh, no.
So I got a first lieutenant son telling the Staff Sergeant to get his hands out of his pocket.
All right. Well, that's the chain of command right there.
That's a chain of command.
Hey, you got to abide by that. Come on now.
Got to tighten up.
Wonderful
Tighten
to hear
up.
from.
I've been out of the military so long, I put my hands in my pockets when I talk.
Oh,
tighten up.
Incredible young man out there doing a job for us.
Casey Ashley with a 5-pounder.
Casey's been steady all week. Steady all week.
He has.
I was
thinking
thinking
one of those
about
guys you would expect to have done very well at Cherokee.
Yep.
I mean, you thought that was his place.
I talked to Casey before that Cherokee tournament, and he realized that the bite was really happening first thing in the morning. He told me that before the first day of the event. He said, I need to catch them early because they really bite early, and it stopped. And then he had a real tough first day, and the place that he was counting on, that he started on, those fish, the bait had moved, and he swung and missed on his best place. The next day he did a little better, but even though you figure things out, our fish can just leave you overnight in some instances, and it's so disheartening.
Yes.
I don't think these fish have left Timmy, though. I think the weather, if we get that little bit of wind in the afternoon, it's going to help him a whole lot. Just a little, not too much.
Yeah, all I've seen so far, and then that's probably just a dying out boat wake oscillations going through there. As we say, the afternoon's when you look for the wind in Florida.
When you're able to do what he did yesterday and not run your trolling motor, I think that's huge.
Oh.
And he was not running it very much. Today he's got to run his trolling motor moving. He's plowing through like Dean mentioned earlier. There's hydrilla. It's not just those reeds that he's pitching to. There's hydrilla in there. You can see it. It's so calm today if you look closely on the water. And that trolling motor, as quiet as they are in open water, they're making a lot of noise and vibration in the water when you had to plow through that stuff.
They're like a food processor down there. Stephen Browning on the right. Stephen starting this day in 5th place. We got it all the way up to 2nd place yesterday. Or at the start of round 2 yesterday.
Stephen's done a good job adjusting. He's throwing soft plastics a lot more now that the wind's not blowing, which I think is an excellent move. He certainly wants to be around tomorrow, and I think he will. But if he's around tomorrow and the wind does gust up to 20 miles an hour, he could have another real big bag like he did on day 1.
Even had the frog on top for a little while there.
Yep. Wow, is that huge body of water looks like a gentle lamb right now.
Oh my gosh, it's slicked off. (9:30) local time there. Sun's still climbing in the sky. We'll get some wind blowing after a while. There'll be a breeze passing through.
I roomed with Kevin Van Dam for, I don't know, 10 or 12 years, and get up on those cold, windy days, and he'd always throw a positive spin to it. The wind is your friend when you're a bass fisherman, and it's so true most of the time, unless you're on the wrong end of Lake Okeechobee, which if it blows out of northeast, that south wind, south end would not be where you want to be tomorrow.
Hackney just landed one of those 6-pounders.
Dangerous.
Dangerous dude right there, Greg.
Up to 15.
If you haven't seen it, he's got great day 1 and day 2 catches from action cameras, and then Randall Tharp's also got a good video from his day 2 when he caught 20 pounds.
Timmy's got one, but it's a non-bass, as you would put it there, Ronnie. Look like a bluegill. Greg Hackney, this would be some trivia. How many live tournaments have you watched when you hear braided line coming through the leaders or the top guys' reels that Greg Hackney is not in the conversation?
Oh, gosh.
Almost never.
Yeah. He's always.
Timmy just made a pitch to the shiner pole.
Well, he did.
First time I've seen that.
You think that would be a good place for spawner since you said it was kind of cleared out? You know,
Well,
it's
yes.
like it's hard and clear.
Great question. Yes and no. I think bass do want to spawn them because it's a hard bottom where they put those poles in a cleared out area. Unfortunately, there's a dude that comes by usually twice a day that throws a big cast net over there that I've seen pull up bass and they chunk them, and those bass tend to move off when they get caught up in a net a couple times a day. Great question, though.
That is. You think that'd be a perfect place to go. We're going to take a break here in a little bit. Got some fish catching going on. Haven't seen the big ones coming in yet. A 4-pounder there. Dean Rojas is certainly going to be meaningful. Greg Hackney out there with 15 pounds already on this day, moving himself up from 3rd place unofficially, but that's been the big shot of the day. 9-pounder by Timmy's estimation. So close to the boat.
That was right there. Jeez, so close.
Half a second from hitting that fish in the boat. There's our top 12 leaderboard. Hackney. You see moving up in there, Dean Rojas in our top 5 hanging in there. Bill Lowen.
Sneaking up in there.
He's going to be a sneaky guy. He always is every tournament. One of the most respected guys out there as far as being able to cause trouble for you if you're trying to win a Bassmaster Elite Series event. Hey, we've got our trivia to revisit when we come back. A whole lot more. See when they get these big bass going on Okeechobee when we come back.
Continually proven on the tournament trail and with Skeeter owners everywhere with 14 consecutive NMMA CSI Consumer Satisfaction Awards. Our competition doesn't even come close. Right now, buy, save, fish with up to $1,500 in instant rebates through March 31st, including the newly redesigned limited edition FX series. Now is the best time to buy, save, fish. Skeeter.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
Is this being in the moment? Is this hanging out? And is this really playing with your kid? Don't stop what you're doing to capture what you're doing. Keep running, keep playing, keep dancing. Just keep doing.
GoPro, start recording.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
Now for your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year!
Facts matter. All monofilament is not the same. Berkley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkley has been making and perfecting trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkley trilene, and that is a fact.
You're watching the Bassmaster Elite at Lake Okeechobee, brought to you live by Hook.
Houston, Texas, March 24th, 25th, and 26th of 2017. Geico Bassmaster Classic on Lake Conroe. It is the World Championship of Bass Fishing. We're going to have a world-class expo for you, as we have every year. The Bassmaster Classic, the Geico Classic Expo, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. We'll be at the big, cavernous George Brown Convention Center. We'll have plenty of room to move around. Always gets crowded, though, especially when guys like Davey Hyde start walking through there, and KVD and
Such
Rick
a great
Clun and
show.
everybody. Oh, man.
Such a great show.
Chance to run into all those guys and just see your friends from the world of bass fishing. It's like a family reunion for this sport that we all love so much. That's, again, a month from this weekend, so make your plans. Get down to Houston. Plenty of great places to stay. It's right downtown, and you can walk to all the events if you get yourself a little downtown hotel room there, or plenty of parking if you don't. Back out to Lake Okeechobee.
It's interesting to see our Rapala 5 live, I guess is what we're looking at now. Maybe they moved the camera around or two, but we've got three guys basically in one of the most popular, probably the most popular corner of the lake. And then you've got Timmy and Dean certainly on a very well-known area for big fish, but the northeast wind will really be bad if it blows tomorrow like they're saying at 20 miles an hour. You can see there with the view of the whole lake, if it comes from a northeastern direction, it will not be good for Dean and Timmy.
Tim Horton still on top officially. With about 1.5 pounds margin between himself and Ott Bifo, who has got a limit in the boat, about 12 pounds for him.
And you might question, well, you say the wind's not blowing enough is why they're not catching them as good today as they should, and then tomorrow the wind's going to blow and you say that's not good either.
Yeah.
This lake is fragile. It's a super big bass lake, one of the best in the world for sure, but it needs all the right conditions to be able to catch those fish like Timmy's been catching. They don't bite all day, every day.
That's all the run up to this tournament here. You know, all you hear so much about how the Florida strain bass in this part of the world are so a difference of 2 or 3 degrees can change their behavior and so forth like that, and you factor in all these other things that can change the water quality around here. And yeah,
so
you're
huge.
right. It can be a tricky place.
And it seems like you can always catch the smaller fish. It's those bigger fish that are just fragile, tricky. Whatever name you might want them, whatever name you might want to give them, but they They're not easy. That's one thing that I saw Timmy doing a little yesterday, but I think really might help him today if he does a few more of those long pitches, long throws. I mentioned having to move around with his trolling motor, making noise, plowing through the hydrilla. But if possible, make a few of those longer pitches before you get right up on the cover. Might help get a bite or two.
We saw him do that yesterday afternoon as well.
Yep.
He started making those real long pitches.
Yep.
Stephen Browning back to his moving bait, his probably chatterbait type setup there. We had some Timmy Horton specific trivia in our last segment right there, and it's a good question. I think it's an interesting story. Why did Tim Horton? And he was always Tim Horton. Tim Horton, the first rookie ever to win Angler of the Year and all that. Tim Horton for 12 years, and then all of a sudden, I am Timmy Horton now. This was not Timmy's choice.
The fisherman previously known as Tim.
Here's some of the responses here. This guy's on it, coffee shop hockey player. We love him, Timmy Horton, up here in Canada. Tim, they're talking about a fella named Tim Horton. He's a hockey player up in Canada. Horton's restaurant was going to sue him. Exactly right, Tim Horton. Tim Hortons is a big chain now. You see it in the United States. It's a huge, it's like the IHOP of Canada.
4,600 franchises in Canada alone.
Yeah. Dave Mercer knows all about Tim Horton.
He probably pals around with Tim Horton. Dave Mercer runs in the big time circles up in Canada. And famous certain, and the Tim Horton folks finally contacted Timmy Horton, who was a canny marketer. Timmy Horton's name, Tim Horton, back in those days, is out there in a big way. He keeps himself visible, and he is a franchise. And the Tim Horton folks said, enough of that. There's one Tim Horton. He has the 4,600 coffee shop.
It's amazing to me, and I talked to Timmy about this when it was going on. How can somebody not allow you to use your own name? Yeah. It's incredible.
It's like,
I guess it's the golden rule. Those with the gold rule.
If you got some money for some expensive lawyers, you might be the one to get your way.
They actually backed off in the end and allowed him to put his name on fishing stuff since it's not, but not any food products.
But what's wrong with that? They backed off and allowed him to use his name.
Yeah, that's right.
That is wrong.
We're going to do you a huge favor, son.
Yeah. If you just use it on fishing lures, we'll let you use your name.
Yeah. Don't understand that world sometimes. Yeah, there's your answer right there. Everyone who talked about hockey player and Tim Horton, Canada, big name. You know, he's like
he's a big defenseman for 24 years in the NHL and was one of the top 100 NHL players voted in one of those teams.
Very popular guy up in Canada and in the United States, and like you say, Davey, it's he was the unstoppable force on that one right there. Yeah. The money, the big time attorneys, and Tim had to bend a little bit. Timmy Horton.
But we got a lot of knowledgeable viewers watching Bass Live. They certainly nailed that one.
Our Tim Horton was 2 years old when that Tim Horton died.
Wow.
In '74. The restaurant started in '64. His partner bought him out and the family out, and when he died. And
So you're saying we can't do an early morning shot with Timmy Horton drinking coffee on the boat? Like that would be a no-no.
Only if it's fish.
If it's Tim Horton coffee,
if it's got
fish flavor.
It's got to have 10% fish in it.
Fish and brew.
Yeah, there you go.
I found it pretty neat that he asked Bass to change his name for that time when they were threatening the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Hey, those big attorneys threaten you with multi-million-dollar suits.
Oh man,
I'd change my name. I guess
it doesn't matter the merit. I mean, if they tie you up and clean you out in no time flat, that's
don't even win the decision, and you're out of money.
Absolutely.
It's the world we live in.
Yep. Unfortunately.
This is the world I enjoy living in, though. Bass fishing. Not on a very slick, calm day.
It just gets calmer and calmer.
It really does.
My gosh.
Maybe this is the calm before the storm.
Could be.
Certainly going to pick up here. And I will bet a bottle of water that
right.
it is going to start blowing, and Timmy Horton is going to catch his limit.
All right.
And the other guys are in trouble if he does, because of the quality of the fish that he's been around.
A little puffy cloud or two on the horizon. That means the heat's starting to rise, and that usually gets the air circulating a little bit. There's Dean Rojas.
Little guy.
It's a keeper. Is that 4?
We'll take him.
Or 5? For Dean.
Should be 4.
I think that, 4. He's got like a 3.5 and a 4-pounder, and then I think a 1-pounder, and then this one.
Number 4. I know they're little, but it's okay.
Just maybe under 10 pounds total.
It's hooked up.
Oh, that's a pretty good one. I wasn't expecting it to be that big. Yeah, it ain't bad.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
I mean, dude, as soon as it hit the water, the line started taking off. Yeah, that'll help. Skinny, male, but.
I noticed the bait that I just caught that fish on. I hadn't seen him fishing that any, but when I talked with him last night, he told me he was fishing it's a Bass Pro version of a soft plastic jerkbait, a fluke. You know, we use that common reference to a bait, but it's a Bass Pro version of that. He said he'd been catching some of his fish on it when it got calm and slick like this, and that's the first time we've had a shot of him using it and catching a nice fish on it. Just weightless, like a Cinco.
Mm-hmm. Kind of twitching it through the grass a little bit.
Just real
subtle.
Stealth, subtle. Yep. What you have to do, in my opinion, to get those fish to bite when it gets like this.
You think a bait like that is so versatile because of its subtleness, but also if he wanted to, he could work it on top and get it on that surface just like he was with his other topwaters.
Yeah, that's why you hear so many people catching fish. It's so versatile. A soft plastic jerkbait, just so versatile fish from the surface to the bottom. And the real key to his success with it is no shoes.
Oh, well, yeah, obviously, staying in touch. There's Timmy Horton hooked up. Look at this.
Here we go.
I think, no.
Tell by his body language.
Let me start for a minute there.
The wind's definitely starting to blow there, though.
Yeah, I take back my statement about those puffy clouds. I got a better shot at that, and it's they're burning off some cane fields, it looks like, which is not uncommon in that part of the world.
If you've never been to Lake Okeechobee, that is if you go there for the first time and you think the world's on fire, they're burning that cane. It's unbelievable. They burn thousands and thousands of acres.
That and South Louisiana is where they grow all the sugar cane in this country, and many acres dedicated to that.
Watch out, Bobby Lane with a 3.5 and Fletcher Shryock with a 6-0.
Wow. Look out now.
I think some of those guys are catching their fish that seem to catch them better as the day moves along in calm conditions like it was yesterday, are the sight fishermen, like Cliff Prince. And I haven't seen any footage of Fletcher, but he seems, from the time of day and the conditions, I wouldn't doubt a bit that he isn't catching some of his fish sight fishing.
A cool story about Fletcher. He came down to pre-practice, I believe, early January before the cutoff. Had to cut his practice short to go to the Harris chain to watch his little brother Hunter have a chance to win that open.
Oh,
and
right,
I was covering Hunter on that final day, and I rolled into Hunter's area, and Fletcher's power pole down and watching his little brother try to win it. And it was pretty cool seeing, the relationship there.
That would be cool.
Those guys do some incredible videos together.
Fletcher busting into the top 5 with that effort right there. Hackney sneaking up on these guys, getting within 5 or 6 pounds. We're leaders.
Timmy's still leading, though.
Timmy on top.
when he fills
sneaking
out
up
his
on him.
limit.
He needs to catch him a few, but you can certainly see on the end of the lake where he's at. Ott is obviously on the other side of the lake from Timmy, but that wind's starting to blow a little.
A little puff of breeze here and there.
I'm betting he's going to catch him one here pretty soon.
Kind of scary to see Hackney as consistent as he's been for the first 2 days when you know that there's a chance at a big bag any one of these 4 days. So if he makes it to the final day and he has another consistent day today, it's one of those, uh-oh.
Yep. He's had a great tournament. Just hasn't had that 8 or 9 pound bite that these leaders have had.
Yeah.
It's game changing. Certainly plenty of time for him to do it, though. A day and a half left.
Florida tournament last year, he just kind of ran out of fish a little bit and didn't lose by much to Rick Clunn there and made it very close throughout the morning of the final day there.
Yep.
Good start to his day, and it just kind of fizzled out.
Similar to this, Rick had a big lead, but you guys dwindled it down, but still he held out.
Interesting, we've seen a lot of slower fish catches. A lot of guys still don't have a limit. But Brandon Lester snuck into the top 10. He has 15 pounds today, and he's caught 15 keepers. So he's culled 10 times this morning already. Some guys don't catch 10 fish all day, so he's already culled 10 times, even though it's only 15 pounds.
Interesting. And I guess our bass track is right. Jesse Tacarante, that made a huge move yesterday, is showing no fish.
Wow.
We've got just a heads up, we do have blogs from Bowman. Steve Bowman decided to cover him this morning to see how his morning went, and I believe he has like 9 pounds roughly. Whether that's 4 or 5 fish, we have to look at that. But yeah, something's disconnect with his bass track. But he has 9 pounds, so not the start that he wanted. But he just left that area where he caught that 28 pounds, because they weren't cooperating.
Okay.
I think with 9 pounds roughly would put him in 7th, right where he started the day, 48 pounds or so.
Okay.
Even if bass track isn't right on top of it, Ronnie Moore is always right on top of it.
That's right. He's our fail-safe.
No doubt.
Right there.
Dean's hooked up. Number 5 if he gets him in.
All right. Number 5. Put him on the small side too. Sweet. Fighting frog. Getting it done. Love it.
ask my buddy Debo what he knows about a black and blue fighting frog.
Hey, Debo, what do you know about a big bite fighting frog? Catches the big bass, doesn't it? I won a lot of money on that bait right there. I designed that bait about 6 years ago. It's a staple for big bite. We sold hundreds of thousands of them, probably millions of them. Sucker catches them.
Going skirtless.
Yeah.
With the fighting frog.
How about that?
I'm sure he's still in the general area with Timmy, but earlier we were seeing them both in the same picture. And haven't seen that lately. Let's have spread out a fair amount. Is that the drone I'm hearing on one of them?
That drone is running rough if that's the drone. I'm telling you right
Sounds
now.
like Dave Mercer's running around in an
Might need a ring
airboat
job.
drone.
It's underwater.
That's the drone that you
That's
say,
Mercer,
get
yeah.
back. Mercer and Captain Troy.
Getting a ride to Gatorama.
Could be. Riding in style. I don't blame Mercer a bit.
See odd in that slick calm water, making those long pitches, fishing straight up Florida style, long pitches, and just let it lay there. When it gets calm like this, it's certainly a way to get a lot of bites, or get some bites. Shoeless.
Oh yeah. That tells you how far Dean and Timmy are apart there. It took about a minute for that airboat to get from one to the other, so you figure that.
Yeah.
He's going 20 miles an hour.
We didn't see Timmy missing fish yesterday. We've seen him
No, he's had
probably
lots of
5 or
swinging
6 times.
Yeah.
I think it's because of the calm water. Those fish still don't, like I mentioned about George in the aquarium, even if they're not hungry, they're not going to let something be in their face, but instead of holding that bait in their mouth like they did yesterday, no, he missed. Instead of holding that bait in their mouth like he mentioned a couple times yesterday, they just hit it and blow it out, or maybe never even
just kind of
have
brush
it in
it
their
off
mouth.
a little bit.
Yep, yep. And something just, it's simple as no wind on the area like you had yesterday can make that happen. But it looks like it's starting to pick up just a little bit, and it'll definitely help us fishing.
Such a waiting game with these fish in Florida always. You just gotta wait on the bite. I mean, if you move it much at all, you're not gonna get bit. You just gotta let it lay. It's so weird.
Oh, that's exactly right with that, and that's one reason I've had some really bad tournaments in Florida. I've never been able to do that. It's hard for me to fish a jerkbait slowly, let alone throw a piece of soft plastic out there and let it just sit on the bottom. A Cinco's really good for
I was fixing to say, anybody who's had to force themselves to leave a Cinco there for a while, you get some good feedback once in a while.
Yep.
You do catch one here and there.
It's incredible too.
I know. It's why?
If you move it, just like I said, if you move it 6 inches, it's over. But if you just let that Cinco lay there, when you have conditions like that, your line will just go tick.
Well, our coverage, just like it has been all year long on Bassmaster Live, is a 2-part deal. We'll give you 3 hours in the early morning from takeoff on. We're going to take a midday break when things traditionally kind of slow down a little bit, but things overall big bass-wise, have been a little slower today, Dave.
It was encouraging yesterday afternoon, though. We saw a lot of big fish being caught. I hope that's going to happen today.
Absolutely. Defoe having a better day, a little better on weight than he was at this time yesterday. Stephen Browning catching him steady, just about on track for yesterday. Dean Rojas out there with the same place where our tournament leader, Timmy Horton, fished on day number 2. Dean with some success today, getting his 5th fish in the boat. Only 3 fish for Tim Horton.
Jeez. That hurts every time I see that.
Big fish Bobby Lane, another 4-pounder.
We'll be watching while we're away. Be back in an hour and a half.